Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up?
I guess we're going to do it
now.
I think we're all set. I think we're going to do another one of these.
Man.
It's been a while.
Been a while, yeah.
A couple months at least, right?
I'm surprised that all of our listeners haven't been writing in, emailing in, calling in, saying what's going on.
Well, they have. I just didn't want to stress you out. So I just keeping that away from you. I don't want my talent to be stressed out. I know you got a life to live and stuff to do. So
very noble of you.
Yep. Nobody asked for these, but we love to do them. So we're back for another one.
Man, so like, I don't, has it been before Christmas since we've done one of these?
It's got to be around then because I think because we've got in between the last one, we've done Justin, we've done Wes Cunningham, and then we just did, our Corey Erickson here. So that's quite a bit in between that. Yeah.
I mean, really, like you eventually you've got to think just the law of averages. Like, how high can you keep climbing? Like, I thought the Bo Hart was good, and then Justin comes on and was maybe the best overall all-around guest at that time.
Yeah.
And then really Wes's story for me was fun, honestly, from your perspective, because that was like your boy, and you had personal experiences with him, so that was different. And then I got to be honest, I did not know just how much of the guy Corey was.
The guy.
I didn't. Yeah. I just did. Yeah. Like I knew his name and I knew he played pro ball, but like he was just a little bit before my time. So like,
he was.
And honestly, the whole Lanphier basketball thing, I remember obviously the Walkers and Victor and things like that. But for some reason I didn't put together, like I guess it was just a little bit before I started paying attention that Corey was there. So I got to admit, man, I did not, he was my Dusty without the huge size. Like, and just to hear people talk about how much he was just like the guy at everything was pretty awesome.
I loved how you put that, because I really do think that Corey kind of is like the Springfield Dusty Benscombe ways. There's like a lot of parallels there, and you can see, or you can hear how people talk about him, in that kind of a way of like mythical almost in some terms, right? Wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like, I mean, the hands and arms thing, I gotta tell you, I definitely got out a tape measure and measured my wingspan and everything. Mine's dead on. Mine's a 5'10" wingspan. I'm like, what? So like, I don't know whether to be jealous or like to feel bad for him that he should have been like 6'3" or 6'4".
Yeah. He in real life, he looks like a Lego man that you use like small parts and then big parts on some parts, like, or mismatched size, like one set is for little kids and one's for big kids, and you just mixed them up. So it's like this like regular sized body and these massive hands. And it can't be overstated or understated how big his hands are and how thick his fingers are and how they really do hang down to his knees. I mean, these are not over exaggerations. These really are, big, are very different than a normal person that you're going to see just walking down the street.
Yeah. Funny.
But, all those guys that you talked about, it was, each of them were fun in their own way for me as a host as well. Like, Justin was this guy that really helped me a lot in my career and had a really cool career himself. And we got to kind of see how close he truly was to the big leagues and like really carving out a career. I know you and I have gone back and forth with that some, and Justin was awesome too. He opened up in ways that I never thought he was going to, and was engaging and fun. And it was really cool to talk to Justin in a way that felt like we were looking at each other eye to eye, because it had always been a relationship of kind of, mentor. I was, following him, looking up to him. So that was really cool. And then, and Wes I wasn't sure how everyone was going to take Wes because, he's not a local guy. So, he was from, and I went to college with him, and he had a very unique story and journey. And I just thought it was really cool, and I wanted to do it. And that was so fun to do. Just all the little inside stuff. I tried to not make it too insidery, because obviously if you weren't at Murray State in that time, you wouldn't know some of the stuff we're talking about. So
yeah, you know what though? But like, I think most of the audience probably had like, I obviously don't have any relationship with Wes, but like I drew parallels, like the relationship you had with him and the stories you had with him and how he wasn't like a baseball lifer. No. There were different times throughout that conversation when it reminded me of other teammates that I had. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, even though, like I get what you want to say, like that. And as much as that wasn't a conversation for, everyone in Central Illinois or whatever,
Right.
like I think there's still people that have relationships with those types of people that like,
Yeah.
hey, either you were a teammate with them or you work with them or you went to school with them, and they don't fit that same mold of all the other people around them. So there were some parallels that I drew to other people there.
Yeah. And that was just an absolute riot to do. Wes is a great, great guy. And then, finally getting to do Corey. And that was just, I mean, the amount of effort I put into that one was staggering. And I don't know, like I think it was very apparent when you listen to it, how much I looked up to him growing up and how much I had this deep respect for him. And I really wanted to like put on a show for Corey, or like put on this production. And everyone told me beforehand, it's going to be really hard to get him to talk and to open up. And there's two people, I'm going to call them out right now in a very positive way, that it stuck out to me when I was going around talking to people about Corey. And it was Jim Rupert and Casey Erickson. Both of them were like, good luck, buddy. Good luck getting Corey to open up to you and talk and whatnot. And, like Michael Jordan in The Last Dance, I took that personal. And I made it my mission to, connect with him and get him to open up and make him feel comfortable. And I think we accomplished that 100%.
I mean, it's like there's so if you probably went back and asked all the other guests, they would probably say now, after hearing some of these other stories, that they may have done theirs different or wanted to add more or forgot or whatever. Yeah. But from me listening, it does seem like all these guests happen at the right time, or maybe that's just your preparation that there's just things about their story. Like if Corey would have agreed to come on like as the second or third guest, you would not have been as prepared to make his good. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't have had that you probably needed to go through Bo Hart first to break down those walls of like, hey, this is legitimate. I can call these people and get clips and things, and I know how to use it, and I know what questions to ask them to get good content out of it. 100%. It is funny how the right guest seems to come at the right time.
They've all built on each other, and I don't even know how I really pick them. It's like I think of all these guys that could be, and then just like as I'm thinking about it, it's usually just like one of them jumps out to me. Like my intuition is like, it's Corey time, or it's Dusty Bensko time, or it's this person time, and it's always been the right thing. It's just like you said, something is learned from it. Something is. I progress as a host. I totally agree. Corey Erickson would have not been the right person to have on for the second episode. I would have been in a world of trouble, I think.
And in some weird alternate universe, if he would have agreed to come on, would that have slowed the progression? Like, would you have just gotten frustrated with it at that time and just been like, I tried it, not for me. Like, let's just move on.
Right. Totally. And like, my second guest was, was Dusty Bensko, if you look back. And I didn't use any clips or anything like that. I used a little bit of quotes. Yeah. But, I'll always have a little bit of regret looking back and wishing that I was able to give Dusty maybe a more, polished version of myself as a host and more prepared. And I think I would have, been able to bring out his story more,
Yeah. And what's funny is when you had, was it Corey's son that was in with you guys, and his son was dogging him, being like, Dad, you can't just answer sure to everything.
I was like, thank you, crew. Yes, thank you. You cannot answer sure.
So I was thinking these same things, that if you did go, like for Dusty's, if you did go and get like, clips from Greer or his parents, or even Finnegan that coached him with Statesman and all that. Sometimes I kind of felt like even if you would have hit Dusty with some of those things, he would have just been like, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I know. Like he's just the most humble guy. And like he was never going to beat his chest. Right. And there was, it was so funny to go back with the Dusty thing, because there were parts of the story that I didn't even know I missed. And he was like, what was your favorite game? And he was like, oh, the game where we won. And I know I struck out at the end, but he didn't even talk about the home runs he hit before. Right. And like, he was the one who, got you guys the win. And like, he was never going to talk about any of that. So it would have been nice to have other people talking about it. And that's the beauty of the clips, I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, diving in on Justin a little bit.
Let's go on Justin.
Yeah. I think I texted you this a little bit too, but for me, Justin is a big leaguer and had a big league experience. Like all the things that I think, I mean, okay, I can't go look up 10 years worth of stats that he had for playing for the Giants or A's or anything like that. But like when he tells these stories of like other players he played with and places he went, and having a sponsorship with gosh, who's the sponsorship with? Not Adidas.
Mizuno.
Mizuno. Yeah. I'm like, dang, Justin had a big league experience. He went over, was it Japan that he played in?
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah. So I was just like, and hearing the perspective of how other people that I know talk about him, I'm like, people that I think are studs think Justin was a stud. So I'm like, that really set it in my mind. I'm like, shoot, he's like literally any 29 other teams that had him, he doesn't get stuck in AA or whatever. And I mean, roll the dice 5 different times, and three of those 5 he ends up with a 10-year big league career. Like, that's just, I didn't realize it was that solid, that close.
I totally agree. And like, while I don't have any big league playing experience myself, I feel like I know the game deeply, and like when I see people move, I can see like that looks like a big leaguer. And to me, Justin always passed that test. He looked like a big leaguer. He moved like a big leaguer. He had big league tools, and he just was not in the right place at the right time. Like how close he was to, being a 10-year backup. It would be maddening, I feel like, right? To be on that, like he was so close. Like, it's one thing for, Dusty Bensko and Ryan Aper and Jay Crawford, some of these guys that flamed out in A-ball, they can probably have a little more peace with their career. Like, I probably wasn't destined for the big leagues, it just probably wasn't there. But it just, man, to be that close, that's something. It's something different.
Yeah, that was one of the first notes that I put down there, was that from his perspective, does it torture him that he was so close to just being like, if I don't know what the movie is, but they say like one more hit a week is the difference of being at the next level or not. Yeah.
Bull Durham. I mean, it's 250 and 300. It's like one extra duck snort a week.
So yeah, I wonder if he feels satisfied, like, hey, I took this as far as I could. I know that, if things were different, I could have gone, but I hope he feels, obviously I think everyone, would like the 10-year MLB salary and things like that. But as far as competitive wise, I hope he feels like, that he did it.
I think he did. I didn't get any sense of great remorse from him, or that he still, is at odds with how it went. I think he's at peace with it and is proud of what he was able to accomplish in those years. And he should be. I mean, it was really cool.
I mean, because for me, having 1 or 2 Barry Bonds stories is the same as he played with him the whole time. You know what I mean? So like, I don't need 10 years worth of stories. Like he made it. He was there. He was in the locker room. He talked to him. He was next to him. Like, one story is enough.
The Barry Bonds stuff, man. And he was really kind of soft about it. I thought he could have been a little. I've personally heard him talk a little deeper on the Barry stuff and be a little more. I don't know, less PC with it, but it was cool to hear. I'm like, everyone knows about. I've read the Jeff Pearlman Barry Bonds book, and I know a lot about Barry Bonds. And like, he was not a good teammate, and there's just no way around it. He just didn't really care about his teammates. Didn't care to know your name. Right. Wouldn't acknowledge you. So, I mean, Justin even said sometimes Barry wouldn't even look at you. Like, you didn't exist, and that's an interesting. If you're walking by a teammate in a clubhouse or in a hallway and they act like you don't exist, that's what a different atmosphere that must be at the big league level than versus what you and I experienced like collegiately. Like that was that was like being a part of a team. Like, you really loved each other, and we're friends on a lot of levels. And it sounds like it's a lot of business in the big leagues,
my absolute best friends in the world, like when I look back, have been teammates. And then to all of a sudden get to the top and have it be like not that way.
That'd be weird.
Which I think it goes to show that there's very few that make it to the top that are actually also, like A+ human beings also.
Right. Was it you and I talking about like maybe that there's like, to get to the big leagues, you have to have there has to be like a part of you that is selfish.
Right.
In ways. And like, maybe it's not for the of course there are great men that are in the big leagues and have been big leaguers and have big hearts, but maybe there's a lot of guys that are just kind of selfish people, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. Because it seems like we're discovering a lot of stories of guys that were absolute studs and for one reason or another don't make it, but everyone here has panned out to be an amazing person, right? Like, I don't think there's a guest out there we're having on and we're just talking about, straight athletics and not also how he impacted other humans, Absolutely. Like, that's kind of what we're discovering here.
Yeah. And that's been cool to uncover other shades of people too. Like, in jumping ahead, like a lot of people don't know Corey Erickson very well, and I think we were able to really open up that there's other parts to Corey Erickson that, that he has a big heart and he is a good person. And like all these people really love him. And that was, because, Corey's known as the guy that doesn't talk. So that was,
Well, and what's funny about that too, like, because so I now realize he has a son named Crew, and I have a son named Crew, and I don't know, if this is the world listening or devices listening or whatever, but I had not seen the Erickson name anywhere, and now all of a sudden on like social medias, I'm seeing like Sports 1450 or whatever, or Dave King or somebody talk about, vote for Crew Erickson Player of the Week. I'm like, man. Maybe I was seeing that stuff before and just looking over it, but I'm like connecting those dots. And I'm like, how funny is that now I see that stuff come across, and I never gave it a look before.
Stuff like that does happen if you keep your eyes open, for sure. And I can't explain it, but it happens,
Yeah. The other thing, Justin is one of the coolest accomplishments I can think of if I go back and put myself in the shoes of guys that I played with and against and all that. He's very nonchalant about being drafted 3 times.
He was. Wasn't that a big deal? That's crazy.
That is, I mean, how many thousands of guys out there that like that's their ultimate dream is to just get drafted, and he
Absolutely.
Like bang, bang, bang 3 times.
3 times. Yeah, right. Yeah. And like literally could have been drafted a 4th time. Like there was a year in between that he wasn't drafted at Lincoln Land when he absolutely could have been. He could have been drafted 4 times. That would have been nuts. I mean, 3 is nuts, but
so 1 out of high school, 1 at Lincoln Land, and 1 out of Miami of Ohio.
So 1 year they did not draft. He did not get drafted.
Yeah, crazy. But then did he get drafted as a pitcher, or he converted to pitcher after he got there?
No, drafted as a pitcher. So his so at Miami of Ohio, remember he broke his hand, had that hamate break, and pitched. And when they signed him, they said, hey, they drafted him as a pitcher because he was throwing mid-90s. And they basically were like, well, his hand was still broke, so they had no option. You have to pitch. So he had a 1 point something, which is nuts in its own right. Just decides to pitch. Hasn't done it since high school, really. And then they gave him the option after that. Do you want to catch or do you want to pitch? And he chose to go back to catching.
Yeah, at the big league level.
Or professional. Yeah, it's just what a testament to the athlete that he is, and he is just a freakish athlete. Still is. This guy's still hitting home runs, and he hit a home run in that Legends game a year ago, like with no preparation.
Yeah, so I've got like okay, so out of here's the note that I put. The note that I put down was there can't be a large number of people that can say drafted 3 times. I said, you wouldn't be able to tell me anything if I got drafted 41st round in high school. Like I would be running around like worse than a CrossFitter or like a vegan or something. I would I would lead with it.
Right. I know.
Yeah, I guess that's just, the act like you've been there type thing. I would, everyone that could hear it, I would lead with that. That would be that would be my religion for a couple of months.
I remember when I went on I totally agree with you. And like to scale it down, I remember when I went on a visit to Illinois State my senior year, and I felt like I led with everyone I talked to. I was like, hey, did you know that I went on a visit to Illinois State? Like they're talking to me, no big deal. Like that was part of my personality for half a year.
I would have put it in my AOL Instant Messenger profile.
I probably did have it.
ISU recruiting class 2003.
Speaking of, what was your screen name?
Joey Albs 21. Same one I've always had for my email and everything.
You want mine?
I never had like the booty knocking 69 or whatever.
You want to know what mine was?
Oh yeah.
Oh god, it's terrible. It was Tough Dog 69. So it was TUFFDAWG 69. So it can't be more cliche than that.
Classic. Yeah.
Gosh. I was like a 12-year-old, Tough Dog 69.
Okay, so since we brought this up, I got to say my oldest Vaughn, he's 11, he's in 5th grade. So apparently some of the kids on the bus or in the class or whatever now know that 69 means something, but he doesn't know what. And so he's asking me to tell him what it means. And I'm Vaughn, I go, but you're not ready. He's like, yes, I am. You just tell me. And I'm like, I know you're not ready for it. He's like, what does that even mean? He's like, just tell me and then we'll know if I'm ready. And I'm like, Vaughn. And I'm like, I go, this is going to change some things for you. I go, you can't still believe in Santa and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy and also know what 69 means. He's like, what? I go, that's how I know you're not ready.
Oh my
and
God.
He just kind of looked at me, because he's at that age where like he kind of knows that those aren't real, but he, because we've got younger kids in the house
Keeping
and all
it alive.
that, he doesn't ask about it a whole lot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah,
that's a great analogy.
Like everyone is, I don't hate it. Like I always steer this towards kids and things like that, but that's so much my life. Everyone is so worried about what these kids are going to see and learn online and in video games and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's still nothing compared to what they see and hear on the bus and on the playground.
Oh yeah.
That is my saving grace, is that like, yes, we're all very worried about keeping them safe on their video games and online and YouTube and all that type of stuff. They're still learning all the same bad stuff on the school bus and on the plate. So it's like, that is my funny thing, is that he knows that 69 means something, and his friends all snicker about it, but he admits he has no idea what it is.
They haven't told him?
I don't think so. I don't know that they know.
Okay, they're just like, this is the funny number. Yeah.
Yeah, or I think they know that it means something. What he says sus. It means something sus, but he doesn't know what.
I would not want to explain that to 11 or 12-year-old little boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming. Like, you got to rip the Band-Aid off somehow.
When a mommy and daddy love each other. Like, how do you start that story?
That is not. Yeah, I don't know. You know what's funny is, like, sometimes when I'm driving down the road, I do kind of role play it in my mind. I'm like, how am I going to tell my kids about this type of stuff? And it's like, there's no clever way to do it. Like, you just got to either listen. Like, you want to be a knucklehead and laugh at some of this stuff. Here's what it is.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall when you finally do have that conversation, and just like the look on his face when he's processing that, like, what? But
I do try and draw the lines of like, okay, listen, here, like, when I tell you this, you've got to understand that there's inappropriate times to do this. Like, these are things that, like, you don't talk about with, at school, you don't talk about at practice, you don't, all that type of stuff. I go, because you never know what other, kids are prepared or not prepared to hear. And I go, I set the stage and I say, listen, this will get you in trouble. And I go, you can't use the excuse of, oh, my dad knows that I say this. I go, you will be in trouble at home. It will embarrass you, whatever. So they're pretty good about that. Like,
good.
I feel like my kids are not the ones that are going to school saying, all that stuff.
But there's definitely kids that do that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it could be wrong. So, all right. Okay, steered off of that.
That was a hilarious little diatribe there.
Okay. So much like I wasn't familiar with Corey's story. Okay, tell me about Randy Rice. His name keeps coming up, and everyone talks about him like he's a dude.
Yeah. So Randy Rice is I grew up hearing these stories of lore of Randy Rice from the Knoedlers, from O'Malley, from everyone around their age range, and they were just a little bit older, 4 or 5 years older than us. And like, I hung on everything they said. And when they were, and when the Knoedlers and when the O'Malleys are talking about someone being a superior athlete, that really means something, because those guys are so high level. And so Randy Rice was a guy that played at Springfield High School. And if you catch the right person and mention that name, like, there's going to be a twinkle in their eye, because he was something very special, just wildly athletic. Think of like a small version of Bo Jackson, just like was good at everything. Like he hit 500 something as a senior in high school.
All three sports though.
Yeah,
baseball,
like baseball, basketball, football. Yeah. And what I think was interesting was that Justin said he probably chose his worst sport, basketball. I don't think he was super big, like maybe a 6-footer.
Yeah.
6'1" maybe. And went on to play. I think he went to some junior college for a year or two and played basketball and tried to play baseball and then dropped baseball and then ended up going to Illinois State to play basketball or whatnot. But everyone just talks about how fast he was, how twitchy he was, lightning fast bat, big time power, impossibly fast. Just, I mean, that's how everyone talks about it. Every coach, every player, Randy Rice. So at one point I thought about trying to get him on. I had a hard time getting a hold of him, but
yeah, it's a shame there's not you get so used to having technology and video product of everything now. It's a shame that I can't, just type in a search and pull up some old footage of him.
I agree, but then there's also a part of that that's kind of special too. Like it's something that, like, would some of that like luster be lost if we could actually see the video and it wasn't what we thought it was? It's almost kind of fun to imagine it in your head a little bit and wonder. It kind of adds to like the cult, folk hero-ness of it.
Okay, I see your point there, because I'm definitely the guy that watches 80s NBA footage, and I'm like, it's no wonder Jordan was putting up 35 a night. Look at this mess. Like, some of those guys he was playing with, like, I get into that a lot, like the Jordan versus LeBron, and I go back and I watch some footage, and I'm like, you can't tell me that some of these guys that were guarding him are even compared to today. So
probably wouldn't be in the league. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah.
Right.
Well, another note that I have, I don't even know what this related to, but I just wrote, doesn't listening to these make you want to be back on a team again? I think that's one of the things that I love listening to all these pod episodes, is that it makes me remember and feel like, how the greatest times were being on a team and playing for someone else, and, the emotions of being up and down and picking someone up. And, there's always there was always a day for someone, right? Like someone that was been struggling and then breaks out, it's a huge celebration for him. Or, your guy that usually comes through didn't do something that day and somebody else has got to pick him up. I love hearing all these stories, and it makes me miss being on a team.
I totally agree, man. It's there's a line from The Office. It's one of my favorite shows. I think it's Andy Bernard. And he says something like, "Don't you wish you knew you were in the good old days when you're in them?" And
man, sure,
it's so true, right? Isn't that quote hit home when you think back to your baseball career and being on a team?
The next note that I had is that one thing that I greatly overestimated is that colleges have a sophisticated recruiting and talent evaluation process.
It's a crapshoot.
Like, dude, so much of that I put, it's a chance. It's people knowing who you are, what the team needs. Like, first of all, I legitimately thought that the Knoedlers went to Miami, Florida, not Miami of Ohio. I didn't realize that until late. Like I knew it. I'm not saying I learned that now, but I'm saying when I first heard about where they went, I'm like, oh yeah, studs, dang, Miami, like that's incredible. And then it wasn't until a little bit later I realized it was Miami of Ohio, and I was kind of down. I was kind of down on that, thinking, I'm like, man, these guys are getting drafted by MLB, like how? And so that kind of feeds into where's Illinois?
Ridiculous.
I don't understand it.
That Justin and Jason Knoedler and O'Malley got out of the state of Illinois after Lincoln Land is a travesty. You kidding me? Where the hell is Illinois State and Carbondale and U of I and Northern and University of Chicago? Like where Western, Eastern? Where are you guys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what a steal.
Yeah, what a steal. How does the JUCO player of the year get out of Illinois without being recruited hard?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously someone who is in it and is coaching could probably tell you, like, look, there's, it's impossible to scout, thousands of people and kind of follow what leads you get and things, whatever. But man, seems like paying attention to guys that are setting records at the national championship for JUCO who are, lighting up the gun and everything are a pretty good one.
Yeah. It sounded, especially back then, that it was a lot of like network. Like I remember Tracy Smith talking about, I knew Chris Detmers, and Detmer said, hey, you got to go see this Knoedler kid. Like that's how he found out about him. Not that he was, already drafted twice and, was just setting the world on fire. It's really interesting. I mean, different now, right? You can get yourself out there. There's video of you out there. I'm sure they had like a VHS tape.
Yeah. But you know what? Maybe. But I probably benefited from the same thing, because I think I was on Lincoln Land's radar from an early time just because Plains guys had played there. Yep. You know what I mean? So if it wasn't for Skeeters and Duraco and Murphy and all that, like I probably benefited from that same thing. Now, I'd like to think that I could have still gotten on their radar anyway, but
you were getting offered early. Didn't Pally offer you a real early?
We played. Okay, this is another thing too. I hear about all these guys getting progressively better every year. Like I was pretty fortunate because of some injuries that I got a chance to play varsity like 3 weeks into the season as a freshman, and I stayed all the way through. And I ended up hitting over 400 as a freshman. And I mean, pretty much looking back, I can kind of level with myself and kind of wonder, was I the same hitter for 8 years? Like, was I the same player since I was 15 through 22? And the numbers say yes. Like I look at all these guys. They're like, they make these monumental jumps from year to year, and I'm like, was freshman 15-year-old and senior 22-year-old, was I essentially the same player all the way through? I kind of was.
That's great.
God, where was I going with this?
Pally recruiting you as a freshman.
Yeah, so we had a couple of like showcase games, or maybe even the regional or something, and I hit so Dusty hit third. This is my freshman year. Dusty hit third. Ryan Murphy hit fourth. I hit fifth. So like, as you can imagine, by the time they got to me, I mean, I got a ton of fastballs over the plate, and
sure.
I was a first pitch swinger all the way through.
Yes, you were.
And I'll never forget this. We came up. We had runners. I think it was runners on second and third. Second and short were not in double play position. I remember that for sure. They were in their regular spots. I come up and I think we're maybe tied or down one or something. I get a first pitch fastball, swing over top of it, hard hopper right up the middle, bounces about 4 times right over second base, and second and short kind of do a crossing thing, and it just barely ekes by him. Both runs score. We win the game. Was not a good solid contact hit, was not anything. It was just me being, scared to face a tough count and just always swinging first pitch fastball. And you've seen it 100 times. I hit a perfect 4 chopper right through the middle that scores the runs. And Bruce catches me behind the dugout after the game, and he's like, "Got a full ride waiting on you. It's here." And I'm like, Bruce, look, I'm 15 years old. I'm like, I'm a freshman. Of course, at that time, I'm thinking, I'm like, my ego was like, well, if you want me as a freshman, like, I'm obviously going to be going bigger places than here.
Just wait,
Yeah. And then, of course, fast forward 4 years later, I'm the exact same hitter.
I know we've laughed about this privately, but like, was Bruce even authorized to do that? Did he have the power to do that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
How would you even know what the makeup of the team's going to be? Well, you know what's funny? That was the year. So Murphy would have gone. Murphy would have gone the next year. So I mean, they were a national championship caliber team. I think they, had I been older, they probably would have been disappointed with me. So I snuck in there right after the national championship run.
That's perfect.
Okay, so on Justin, some absolute classic pro ball hazing stories.
Oh man, yeah.
It has been. I can't tell you how the feeling of FOMO that I got when he told that shower referee story. Oh, and man. How if all time. This was like, if I would have known about this sooner, like this may have been like your thing, like my signature thing. Yeah,
your thing. Totally, I can totally have seen you with your referee thing doing that thing, and like, I would have loved that. That just sounds like great locker room fun. And like, if you've never been a part of a locker room, stuff like that does happen. Like, that's creative. Like, someone thought that out. So that's I love, that's the best story. And if you guys don't remember, do you want to tell it? You want me to?
Well, I mean, it's worth going back and encouraging everybody to go listen to the episode. But like, from what I took from it was anytime there was this is where I don't know the details of it, but like, obviously a new guy, if you're wanting to do something hazing to him, like, you get one guy kept a basketball and a referee jersey in his locker, and whenever the new guy was unsuspecting, one guy would strip all the way down, like ready for a shower. And whether this happened in the shower or in the locker room, the one guy with the jersey that would put the referee jersey on, blow the whistle, throw the ball to the unsuspecting new guy, and another guy comes up playing like full court,
make a defense
on him. Oh my God!
While everyone is chanting defense, defense.
So like, obviously your embarrassment and your instincts kick in at the same time, and you're like, wait a minute, like, do I really have to dribble and try and get by him?
Right. I would have loved to have seen that. Like, did they actually try to like cross people up, or were they trying to do it, or like, how hard was his defense?
Well, because you can't pick the ball up and turn away because he's just going to get right up on you. Oh man, classic.
Oh man, Best story.
I so enjoyed that story, and
Yeah.
I could like never have doing that, but done enough shenanigans in there that was fun that I can picture myself right in there and laughing just as hard as if I'd have seen it.
Yeah, and if what you mentioned, like if you guys haven't listened, and if you are listening to this, like the views on or listens on Justin's haven't been as fast or as much as I thought they were going to be.
Yeah,
and it really is one of the best ones all the way through from start to finish. It's just he was incredible. He was ready to talk. You could tell he had thought about all of this stuff prior, and he knew what it was. It was a shade of Justin I had never seen. It was really cool,
and it was a perfect compliment to going after Jason too, because he didn't spend too much time on some of their childhood stuff that was overlapping from Jason. That was, I think, good for if you're a listener that listens to all of these. There wasn't too much overlap and reiteration. I mean, enough to set the stage, but not so much where it's like, okay, yeah, we've already heard this. Like it was new stuff.
I appreciate you saying that, because I wanted to avoid that while still, like, paying homage to some of these things that happened in his life. But, I didn't want to skip over it too fast, but we didn't want to sit on it forever either. So awesome. That's exactly how I wanted it to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, again, the whole, I've said this before. I mean, they've created, fraternity is the wrong word, but they've created a nice team at Bank of Springfield. And that's another thing too, that just being around, guys that support you and are familiar and are going to push you and you're comfortable with and all that. Like, that's just, it's a cool thing. And again, there's not that I mean, I guess I don't have that now. Like I work, the company that I work for is amazing, and they do lots of really good things together. But our headquarter office is in Louisville, Kentucky, and there's like 60 or 65 of them. And so it's fun to watch some of those things. But like I'm here working remote in Dallas, and so like that whole team aspect is lost. And don't get me wrong, I love working from home, but like there is an element of camaraderie that
totally
that I think is healthy to have in your life all the time.
Well said. And I know that you can close your eyes and picture an alternate life where you're a BLS, you're under the umbrella and doing well. I can totally see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't have to think hard about it at all. Yeah. Yeah. So tell me, I guess tell me a little bit about how it was different preparing for Justin versus Wes versus Corey, obviously.
Oh, interesting. Well, I mean, Justin was a lot of those guys were people that I had already gone back and talked to, like for the interviews and stuff, like Claude's and O'Malley and Jason. And you know what? The second time around, when you talk to these guys after they've done it once, they're like more into it. Like you could tell that they've already listened to a podcast. They had got a feel for what it is, and they almost even have a feel for like what's going to be quotable.
Yep.
So it's like I can almost feel them kind of veering into like meaningful things that they're saying and like wanting to be more poignant with their statements and whatnot. But I don't know, nothing too different with Justin. I mean, I had a good amount of people, probably 10 or so that I went with quote wise and clip wise. With the preparing for Wes was really fun for me, because while I've maintained contact with those guys down at Murray State, mostly through text, I haven't seen them in like 10 years. Like I haven't made the golf outing or some of the trips that come together. Yeah. And it was really, it really felt like it brought me back in some ways to like, I feel excited about going and seeing those guys. I'm going to do the golf outing this year, and I haven't made it. And just really fun hearing those stories and talking to those guys and getting to catch up with them more so than just a text like, hey, how are you doing? So that was really special.
I could tell that you really enjoyed your time there.
I did.
And at least from this perspective, and I could tell that you really enjoyed going back, and even some of the things that he brought up, I could tell were things that you hadn't intimately thought about in a long time. And it sounded like you enjoyed that one as much as any of them.
It was really fun and unique. And we opened up a little differently than we had at other ones. Wes was willing to talk about some college shenanigans when, not all these guys are willing to, and not that even they should. Whatever you feel comfortable with, talk about it, So whatever you're comfortable with in your professional career and your life. But Wes was more than willing to be very open about who he is, and that's totally in line with him. So he's such an open book and unique. And Wes and I have always had this kind of like kinship, kind of like a friendship. We're both kind of oddballs, a little bit different, and I don't know, we always had this like very easy friendship, and it was just so fun to do and catch up with him, and it was so unique. I really encourage people to listen to it, even if you are a Springfield person or you don't know Wes Cunningham. Like, this is a guy that wasn't a baseball guy at all. Like he really didn't even know baseball that well. Like he didn't know enough about baseball to know that he was doing some things wrong or weird.
Yeah.
And he just kind of, he was a hard worker and kind of did things by feel and figured some things out. And then, I mean, the story of him coming from being our bullpen catcher as a freshman, essentially an afterthought. Our head coach thought he was just not ready to handle, Division I baseball. He got 5 at bats and did not get a red shirt, burned his year of eligibility. He goes on to rewrite the Murray State record books, a Division I school, an All-American as a senior, 20-something home runs, 400. Just it is. If you would have told me he was going to do that as a freshman in college, I would have said you are absolutely crazy. No way. I mean, I would have said his trajectory would have been somewhere in like the middling 2s, maybe hit a couple home runs, maybe like a platoon guy the rest of his career. And then he went on to do that. It's inspiring that stuff like that can happen. And we can see jumps like that.
Yeah. And because it's not like, I mean, all these things make me think back on what I could have done different or better or whatever. And that's not even the hardest working guys don't make that type of jump. Like so many things have to go right and stay focused and have the right personality to wipe the bad stuff and hang on to the good stuff. And I mean, that's just it's one thing for a guy to go from, 12 home runs to 20. Like you already sort of knew that they had it.
They have it, yeah.
Yeah, but to just absolutely explode on and outplay everybody is just really hard for me to imagine.
Yeah, and like it was. I mean, even his sophomore year when I did get to witness that, he got to play a lot. He was all OVC, but it was a very soft 380. I mean, he didn't square it up very much. He was really fast out of the box. Dribbled a lot of Joey Albysmeyer 5 choppers through.
Yep.
And then for him to just all of a sudden find this power stroke it was really cool. And I mean, there have been stories about, guests that we've had that make these jumps. The Knoedlers made big jumps like that.
Yeah.
I agree. It's not all hard work. I mean, like hard work is a part of it, but sometimes it's just, I don't know how to explain it. Can you?
I don't know. I mean, don't like, because my kids ask me all the time. They're like, when did you get good? And so I try and think back. I'm like, I try and be objective about it. And honestly, for me, it was like when I hit about 7th grade, I was, between 7th and 8th grade, I shot up to, about 5'8", 140, 145 pounds, which was one of the biggest guys. Like I've got pictures, Jordan Roth, 6'6" or 6'7". Like I've got pictures of us in middle school and I'm like an inch taller than him.
Wow.
And and so that's kind of funny for me is I think, you know what, like I did kind of sprout early and sort of like 7th grade, 8th grade freshman, I was pretty much like what I was going to be. Now obviously I got better and smarter and things like that, but I think to myself, I'm like, you know what, I made my huge jumps when I was young. And I'm like, I try to think of like, well, what if that jump for me didn't come until later? Would it have projected me further? But then I also tell myself, I'm like, I also wasn't doing anything sophisticated to get better, faster, stronger. Like I was just playing. So that's kind of what I come back to is even when you talk to Wes, like he was dedicated in the weight room too.
Yeah.
I just never had that. And so that's kind of my regret thinking back is that like, man, would I, if I could have dedicated myself more to that, would it have resulted in these big jumps? But even still, I don't think it would have made these big jumps.
I mean, it's just otherworldly to some of the jumps that these guys have made. Like that's what you hope for, right? If you're working hard and like you hope that you go from being a 350 hitter with a couple bombs to a 400 with 15, that would be ideal for everyone. Yeah. But,
didn't stop me from thinking it was going to happen every year. Though.
I mean, you have to believe or have hope that you're going to make a jump, right? Or you're going to keep progressing. And I mean, they're just going to be guys like you that were the same from 14 on.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. It took me until 40 to realize it.
Like, do you think if you took 15-year-old Joey, freshman on Pleasant Plains, and put him at Weber, do you think he would have hit relatively the same?
I really do. I really do. And honestly, I don't know, maybe. I mean, I've benefited from good situations everywhere that I go. But like, Maybe more strikeouts just from being nervous and skittish, and I would like to feel like I got a little bit smarter and contact got a little bit better. But I mean, ultimately, I had the benefit of sometimes when everybody says it, when you have low expectations and don't put that pressure on yourselves and just play, sometimes results are better. So I mean, it sounds silly to say, but I don't think it would have been that different looking back now. I just,
well
I don't.
said. You know what that reminds me of? And that's like going back, but when you said that, like not having expectations, it made me think of Bohart. I don't think he ever had one expectation on himself till maybe later, right? He just like kept showing up and like getting better at baseball. He didn't have like, I'm going to be a professional or I'm going to go to the major leagues. It was just, he kept showing up and then he had these like, monumental, these huge jumps too. But yeah, kind of falls in line, I guess.
Yeah. I just don't, in your mind, you want everyone that has success and does better than you to have like some secret recipe to where you tell yourself, I'm like, oh, that's what I missed. That's why. Yep. But then in the end, it's like, no one that we've had on is like, oh yeah, this is the correct way to pick up a breaking ball and here's how you approach it. Yeah. Nobody says, you know what I mean? So like
whatever works for you.
Yeah, everybody's kind of going up there, no one is hitting the best stuff at any level. Right. There's just these razor thin margins of like, who takes advantage of their opportunities and who doesn't get themselves out on like the hittable pitches. And the ones that are really good at that, you know what I mean? Traject out much bigger. And then someone who gets in their head and kind of misses their opportunities. There's not, there's not a, I guess what I'm saying is like the gap between college players and the ones that make it through to the pros aren't necessarily the difference of like me and Barry Bonds. You know what I mean? Right, like the gaps are much different. It's just how consistently they take advantage of their opportunities. At least that's what I'm hearing from the guests that have come through.
Absolutely. And to piggyback on that, one of the things that I've gotten taken away from this, from all the guests as a totality, is just how hard it is. Yeah. Just how impossible this journey is to make it to the big leagues. Like, you can have all these tools, you can have a great mindset, and there's just so many things that have to go right. There's so many things that have to fall in line. You have to be so lucky, so talented, so in the right place at the right time. And, even if you have, all those ingredients, it still might not work out. It's just, it's crazy. It's given me even more perspective on my own career and like what went right and what went wrong there. And like maybe even a little more grace for myself when at times I've looked back and been kind of hard on myself at times. So it's a hard journey.
Dude, there's so many games.
Yeah.
Like baseball is like you play so much.
Yep.
You got to be consistent. So now anyway, I really enjoyed hearing Wes's story.
Oh, cool.
Just being with the music being different and the skateboarding being different and just kind of the perspective of, he didn't come home and watch baseball. He didn't come home and play baseball video games. Like he had a very balanced life and he was interested in other hobbies. And I think a couple months ago when I was listening to this, that did kind of influence me a little bit to be like, you know what? Yeah, don't be so one track. Like you've got all these opportunities to go explore new things. Like you can still be successful at something. Even if it doesn't consume 100% of your day. Like I know that's contradicting of some people that say, you've got to be ultra focused on this if you want to be the best or whatever. But I mean, I'm not in any position where I need to do that. So that did kind of influence me to go explore some other things.
That was interesting too, because I think in one part of Wes's career, him having all these other things that he was interested in, that took some of his time away from baseball, that, let his mind work in different ways, was really beneficial for him, right? In college, he had his school, he had his band, he had all this stuff that he liked to do. But then when he got to pro ball, like, it's gone. None of that stuff. And it wasn't a good thing for him. He talked about dwelling at times when he never used to dwell. He used to go, hang out with the boys or go to the bar, go to his band, go skateboard, all these things. And once those are gone, all he had left was just to think, man, I went 0 for 4 today. Yep. And I went 0 for 4 yesterday, and I went 0 for 4 the day before that. And he talked about how hard that was for him, that he didn't have all these same, outlets. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I had one on the tip of my tongue that I was going to say. Yeah, it's not summer ball. Oh my gosh, the slacks.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's
I'm
hilarious.
dying
You
at
like
him
that?
showing up in like dress slacks.
He really did, dude. He really did, all the time. Yeah,
Okay, so when this is going back when I worked in Florida. We one year we hosted the Florida State games, and it was in the summer. And one of all I could think of is there was a powerlifting event, and these power lifters are not like it like when you see World's Strongest Man, like they've got to have a ton of calories and be super big and stuff. And so these power lifters weren't like bodybuilders. Like they obviously had big muscles, but they had big guts too.
yeah,
And for whatever reason, during their during these events, they would wear like the nicest like suit
really.
slacks with a belt, and then this tucked in cotton polo shirt with their big guts. And and of course, the sleeves are super tight around their arms
Yeah,
because they're big and jacked. And whenever he was talking about wearing those slacks, all I could think about was these powerlifting guys that had on these nice, like super nice suit slacks and a tucked in cotton polo shirt.
yeah. He had very unique style. I mean, it was a culture shock for me when I went down there. And Wes was so not afraid to be himself. I mean, it was the land of remember the show Hoover Football, Hoover High. It's like a football show on MTV.
I don't
Coach
remember
Probst.
it.
Okay, well, anyway, it was like the big haircut during those days was like a big southern swoop. It was like kind of long hair and like it was all swooped. Like everyone on the baseball team had this haircut, right? And like
Okay.
Wes had a shaved head, and like
Yeah.
everyone wore like Ralph Lauren polo, and like we wore like Sperry. It was like Southern prep style. It was kind of like how everyone did it, and also some like country boys that wore a lot of camo and shit. But Wes didn't care. Did not care at all. Like he wore band T-shirts. He wore his dress pants. He shaved his head. He was tatted out as an 18-year-old, and I remember being like, man, who is this guy when I first saw him? And like, it's astounding how together he is and how, mentally sharp and sure of who he is. And usually when you see like an 18-year-old that's super tatted out, you're like, are they making great life decisions? Like, I don't know.
And that's nuts too, because he was so focused academically all the way through and just I mean, most jocks don't care about anything but the baseball game, don't figure out what they want to do as a career until much later,
myself
just worried
included.
about parties. And it sounds like he's such a blending of all these different stereotypes. You're like, man, I don't know what to think about you.
You can't box him in. You cannot. He's his own. He's a one of one person. And like, I'm so grateful that I got to be friends with this guy, that I got to know this guy. He really is unique and an awesome person. And it's just, it was really cool to help him unfold his story and hear more of it and more in depth of where he came from and like why he is the way he is. Like his dad was impossibly cool too. Just like a real easygoing, supportive guy. And it was very, very special.
But then before he got the scholarship offer, he was fully prepared to go get in a van and go be in his band, like with just tour with no plan.
Yeah, it was A or B. He said in his senior year, he was either he had a plan with his buddy to go in like some Astro van around the country, and they didn't really have a plan.
Yeah,
just we're going to travel the country and be bums, or he was like trying to get baseball, schools to look at him, and no one wanted him. He had like a D3 looking at him until Murray State at the last second gave him a little bit of money, and we're like, I guess we need a backup catcher. Do you want to come?
Yeah, but like, don't you feel there's all these layers of baseball in between nothing and Murray State? Like how, like if Murray State will consider you, how are there not 75 other lower offers?
100%. Are there not junior colleges and D2s and all these? I mean, it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me either. But I mean, it just goes to show you, like sometimes it is an inexact science looking for talent, scouting, recruiting, all these things. It's not exact. You can never totally predict how someone is going to progress or who they're going to turn into. So I mean, kudos to Coach Mack at Murray State for seeing something, or Coach Y for seeing something in Wes that eventually blossomed into the best offensive player in Murray State history.
Yeah, I think people will. If they've listened to a bunch of these episodes and they feel like it's a lot of similar type things. Wes is absolutely not that. Yeah. So I would assume most of the feedback you get from that is like, oh yeah, he's different. He's not like all the other stories.
100%. But I also haven't pushed Wes the same way I pushed others. Like usually I'm not going to do it anymore, but every other podcast I've ever done, I always like text message every single person that I feel like would like it in my phone.
Yeah.
And I didn't send those to people in Springfield. I didn't want to be like, hey, and listen to 6 hours of this guy you don't know. Like, I'm not going to make you do that. If you're rocking with the show at this point, you're rocking with it and you're going to hear it. So
yeah,
it really was only pushed to like Murray State entities and people that I knew there. So
that makes sense.
Yeah. But
yeah. Okay, I guess before I get into some Corey notes,
let's go.
Man, the speaking of support for the show, continues to get like deeper and deeper, right? Like how much have you enjoyed people? I mean, not just people supporting the show with sponsorship is fantastic, right?
Yeah.
But like, how much have you? Let me back up. Did you anticipate that this would affect your life, how it's done? And are you enjoying all of like the new relationships and communication you have with people?
100%, man. I didn't. I did not know. I didn't know if this was going to be good, or I remember us talking about maybe 30 or 40 people would listen to an episode before we even started this thing. And I was like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
You know, if we could get 30 of our friends to listen to this, you know, and it's been awesome. It's been, I think the most rewarding thing for me has been to make new friends. And you know, it's hard to make real friends as an adult, right? It's like you don't have a lot of time to invest in people and get to know them. And it's not the same as when you're in high school and college and you have all this time to like be with people and like be around them and get to know them. So, you know, like I'm making new friends. Like I legit consider, you know, all these Erickson, Corey, Bobby, you know, Casey, these are like my real friends now. Like I legit have sat down with them for long periods of time and got to know them in a level that makes me feel like they're a legit friend. So I'm making friends. I'm making new connections. Yeah, I've met all these people, and people are reaching out to me, wanting to be a part of it, wanting to be a sponsor, and I've even had to be a little bit selective on some of that. You know, if I don't feel like I totally align with a business or a person running a business, I've told a few people no.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I think when people reach out to you and tell you that they're enjoying it or that you're doing a good job, like I feel like it's got to be genuine, right? Because it's not like your kid brings a piece of artwork home from school and you're kind of mandated to say, yeah, great job, it looks great, when it really doesn't. Like I don't think people would go out of their way to tell you they enjoy it or they think you're doing a good job if they don't truly feel that way.
Right. It really does make my day to when someone just texts me out of the blue and is like, hey, I listened to your show. I love it. You know, like I really like this part of it. That fills my cup up. I really like, you know, words of positive affirmation and affirmations like that. And maybe I'm a little bit of a glutton for it. I mean, it is nice hearing positivity coming back for all the, I mean, I do. I put a ton of effort in this. I throw my heart and soul into it. Like I really want to make it special for these guys and I want to do my best. So it is nice to hear that people are enjoying it. And, you know, it's brought a whole lot of people back into my life too, that I knew 10, 20 years ago. And they're all of a sudden we're texting again, we're talking, and there's a new line of communication open. So it's brought a lot of positivity and love back into my life and friendship. So that's, you always want that, right?
Yeah. And something that may not be instant gratification for you, but like there's also this multiplier effect or a butterfly effect where like they may not be having the conversation with you, but like how many guests and their dads or guests and their moms or guests and their siblings or guests and their old teammates are now having, you know, kicking up those old conversations and old memories because of something they heard on the show. Like that's a real cool thing to think about, that you cultivated that, right? Like you sparked a lot of new conversations and memories from people.
Totally.
And as good as it feels to have someone tell you, you know, good job and share that memory with you, like there's a whole other layer of like, that should, you know, warm you to think like, man, I sparked or, you know, played a part in sparking, you know, conversations with old teammates.
How many like really special conversations have been had with like a father son after this, you know, like, oh, I didn't know you felt that way, Dad, or I didn't know you thought about it that way, or, you know, a friend or just a teammate. Like these are conversations that you don't have, right? These are, you don't have these conversations where someone's going to sit there and gush about Corey Erickson for 20 minutes about how amazing of an athlete, a person, all these things, even like the crazy stuff, like him jumping off roofs and stuff like that. I mean, these are, it was just, I totally agree. I think it's probably, you know, rekindled a lot of friendships, a lot of relationships, you know, like breathe some life back into them. And I hope that Oh yeah, I hope it's brought some positivity and some good into these people's lives.
Yeah. I mean,
It has mine.
I don't know that this has happened, but like I hope everyone that played on that team with PJ in Puerto Rico has relived some sort of memory with their own family about, man, that trip was awesome. Do you remember this? Do you remember that? Or
Yeah.
like a parent or a player right now for Corey or for Casey has asked him about that day that he threw in Arizona. Like, I
Yeah.
hope that it does
I agree.
spark you know what I mean? Like, I hope they have heard it and asked him more about it.
Well said. I do wonder if, like, Casey's obviously the head coach at Glenwood, Chad and Glenwood. Like, are his players listening to? Would they be interested in listening to it with the coach, with the parents? I know if I were a player, I would have wanted to listen to that if it was my head coach, to hear a little bit more what he's about, what made him tick. And same thing as a parent, I would be like, what is this guy all about? I want to know a little more about this guy that's leading my son. So
Yeah,
who knows?
I don't know the based on the personalities of my kids, which are a little bit younger, their attention spans are not very long. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, I feel like they would probably cling to like a shorter clip of him and then, take it and run with how kids do.
Yeah.
But I would say for sure, if they're like, I would say the parents of those kids have given some sort of listen, or
Yeah.
yeah, maybe not.
Well, that's a great. I'm glad you brought that up, because, and we'll circle back. We haven't even talked about Corey, but that is a great segue into. I have this idea. We've kind of kicked it around a little bit, and we've talked about this before, about shorter episodes. Guys that didn't have the same careers as a Justin or a Bohart. Like local-ish guys that were just cool baseball guys that we know. So I think I've got a format now, and I've got some guys lined up and I want to do it with that works. And that makes me feel good about it. My big hang up was I didn't want to shortchange anyone. I didn't want anyone to have listened to this and be like, oh, I get this little short, crappy version.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to do something different. And what I've really come to love is the baseball Q&A at the end. I really think it's fun. I love getting into that a little bit and riffing off of answers and just getting a little more into it, and throwing some fun ones in there, as well as just like high level baseball talk. So I've got this new thing set up. I'm still working on a title for it. I've got a couple ideas on title. One would be into the weeds, and like, obviously getting into the weeds of something, into the minutia, but I don't know if that would be thought of as like too much of like a drug reference. I don't want it to be looked at as that.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then,
I didn't.
You didn't think about it until I said it?
I did. Yeah, because in the weeds is the reference that I use all the time, because I'm a guy that likes to stay out of the details. So I tell our ops team all the time, I'm like, I'm not trying to get in the weeds on this. I'm just the idea guy. You guys go make it happen.
Stay off the weed. Okay, yeah. And then the other one was, because I think this is the ultimate like title that I can give someone. If I say someone like, oh, that guy's a baseball dude, like that means something to me. Like, that's special. So I've also thought of calling it like baseball dude or baseball dudes, or certified baseball dude or something like that. So I'm kicking around, but what it's going to be, it's going to be a very brief kind of like, hey, I got Joey Albysmeyer with me here today. Joey was a standout at Pleasant Plains, where he won double state titles, went on to have a strong career at Lincoln Land, played for the Rifles, played at Weber International, is doing this now for work. And then we'll just have a little back and forth, and then we'll go right into like a pretty extended baseball Q&A. So it would just be 75 to 100 questions, a lot of the same questions that you've heard.
Yeah.
Some of them being, the bulk of them being kind of like the same, so that we can have, Bohart hit like this, Jason Knoedler hits like this, Justin likes this bat. So we have the same kind of questions, but then maybe 25 or so that are pertinent to them, that are just about them, about their careers. Like, tell me about this sophomore year at Lincoln Land where you hit this. Was this a special experience for you? Stuff like that. So I really think that would be fun, like an hour or two. And that, I don't feel like I'm shortchanging people, because it's a totally different format. And I think that would be fun. And we can get into like the fun parts of their career without doing like a 10-hour episode.
Agreed. Yeah. There's like, unless everybody's got to be honest with themselves, right? Like, everyone kind of wants, or not everyone, I take that back. There are a certain set of people that are very romantic about their careers and want probably to tell the big long story. But I think the reality is that you've got to understand that there's only a finite amount of guys that made it far enough that like it's new experiences and different experiences than everyone else had. You know what I mean? But everyone can tell their own, like, where are you now? Let's learn about your personality. Make it more
Yeah.
about their personality and their answers rather than, hey, run us through, who was the hardest throwing kid in your little league.
Right. Yep. So what I wanted to do, as I've been trying to get a hold of this guy, he's a busy man, is I wanted to bring Aper back for the first one of those, because I felt like his Q&A was pretty short. I mean, it was the first episode we did, and it wasn't as lengthy. So I thought it would be fun to bring Aper back and do a lengthy Q&A as our first kind of guy for that. And it's also been, as of the 7th, 1 year since we dropped our first Ryan Aper episode. So I thought it would be cool to bring him back. So Aper, you're probably not going to listen to this, but we're trying to get you. We're trying to get you in, buddy.
Gosh, and you know what's so funny with him being the first guest? He still holds up as someone who was very honest and very self-aware, and gave us a glimpse into his emotions and things like I'm still not sure any other guest has done.
And I love how you put that, because Aper is like shared with me. Aper and I are very close. And like we talk about real stuff sometimes. And he's multiple times kind of expressed to me like, man, did I overshare? Like, did I say too much in mine? Like, some of these other guys didn't share as deeply as I did. And I always tell him, like, dude, yours was perfect. Like, if we didn't have you, I don't know if we would still be going. Like, I really don't. I don't know if it would be the same if you didn't set the tone for what it is. And no, not everyone is matched up to him in terms of authentic, being authentic and being open and vulnerable. But he was so open and so awesome about it, and so well thought out. And like, you could tell he had thought about this deeply. It wasn't just like my career ended, it sucked. Like, it was personal to him. It meant something. And I am so dang appreciative of Ryan Aper. Let me say it again.
Yeah.
He did such a phenomenal job. Like, man, I remember sitting there and looking at him while we were doing it and being like, damn, this is awesome. This is what I wanted it to be. Like, thank you so much for like giving me this gift, for giving everyone this gift. Like, this is going to work.
For it just being audio episodes, the way that he talked through how he was feeling and how he matched up, especially in those like those tryouts or those showcases or whatever. That was really cool for me, because it gave me a glimpse into it, kind of almost like when you're reading a book, you know what I mean, for an extended period of time, and you're able to put yourself in a place because it's so descriptive. He was able to do that verbally, the way that a lot of people get themselves lost in a book, which usually doesn't translate to the screen or to audio, because in written form you can be so much more descriptive. But I thought he captured that really well. For if you haven't, or if you always dreamed of being in that place, I think he did a really good job of allowing your mind to follow him there. Like, I could picture I could picture him at Wrigley. I could picture him making those throws, what he was, you know what I mean? Like, what he was worried about, how he had gotten there the day before, things he was worried about. Like, that was, I don't know that I've had that. It's like I was along with the other guests on their journey, but the way that Aper described it, it felt like I was there with him.
I could not agree with you more, man. I literally can picture. I was thinking the same thing. I could close my eyes and I at least have this vision in my head of what his Wrigley Field tryout was like, because of how he told it. Right? Like, I can picture his family there. Like, I can picture him in probably some oversized basketball shorts. He's all skinny and throwing 95 from the outfield. And I mean, how cool would that be to be a Cubs, grow up this diehard Cubs fan, and your dream's about to come true, and you're hitting BP at Wrigley, hitting tanks at Wrigley. Man, special. So special. So I always, every once in a while, it pops up. He'll listen to it, or someone will text him and he'll be like, man, did I say too much? And I have to be like, no, it was absolutely perfect. You were amazing. I can't wait to bring him back. So it's just, it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously it's a it's a commitment to give 6, 8, 10 hours for across all of these episodes. And so I agree. Yes, anytime. I mean, once a week, I find myself wanting to come back and hear. I don't have time every single day, but it seems like at least one day a week when I'm putting on Sirius XM or putting on music or whatever, I think to myself, I'm like, man, I really like listening to these guys' stories, whatever. But agreed, something, not everyone has 8 hours worth of story to tell.
Right? No, they don't. Not at all. It wouldn't be appropriate to try to force someone into that box too. Of like, so tell me about your sophomore year playing JV baseball. That wouldn't, that probably wouldn't be the same. I don't try to force stories. Like if they naturally occur, like things that are important, they're going to occur. So I love that you're saying that. I'm totally in line with that.
And there's just a lot of name, like same way that it was with Corey. Like there's a lot of names out there that I know that I would enjoy hearing from them, whether I knew them before or not, or played against them, or just saw their name in the paper, or have heard their name come up from other places. Like I think there's 50 guys out there that fit that.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no shortage of names that I think we could have some fun with doing this like shorter version too. Like that's going to be fun. And it's looking like I might be changing careers here. So it might be kind of pivotal that I do kind of change how we operate. Like I might not have the same amount of free time to put 50 hours into a Corey Erickson story. Not that I'm saying we're not going to do big stories anymore, but it might just be less frequent, and we'll just kind of see how things play out. But who knows? Okay.
You want to dive into Corey a little bit?
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Let me see what I've got here for notes. So, I mean, not picking up on, not just going after the low hanging fruit and all that, but one of the first things that struck me was the way he talked about, or you or him talked about diving for ground balls. And I was like, that's Bo Hart. And I'm like, and how funny that like they played in the same era and thought, there was a moment where they thought he was going to get called up instead of Bo. Yeah. And I'm like, that's just like, from that era, there's just such a, like a uniting of like guys going after balls that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for a moment, I just thought, I'm like, man, those guys are cut from the same cloth. I'm like, it's funny how the same things come around again, but the way he talked about diving after balls and just giving his body up, I was like, that's Bo Hart.
100%. And it's trippy that they would have probably rubbed elbows for sure. I mean, they would have done some stuff in spring training together, probably took ground balls together multiple times. I'm sure they've talked before. We never really brought it up, but yeah. Sure.
So a couple of things obviously came up over and over: the strength, the hands, all that.
Yeah.
So I want to take a little bit different approach. If everyone said over and over, this guy would hit 2, 3, 4 foul bombs in an at bat, and it was very common.
Yeah.
So I understand as the hitter, like what you might be thinking, like, oh, let's straighten this out, or I'm still hitting him, or whatever. What do you think goes through the mind of a pitcher when a guy when a guy yanks 3 bombs off of you foul? Like, do you think the pitcher's thinking like, what, just a strike, or are you terrified, like, no matter what I throw, this guy's going to get it?
I think your confidence has to start waning, right? You'd be like, man, I don't have anything for this guy. I hope he doesn't straighten it out. I don't know.
Like, I know he's not talking about like super little league, but like when you go back to, when you first started playing kid pitch, and, your big hitter or whatever would just absolutely tower one foul, and everyone would be like, oh. I can just imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, this wasn't one person. Like, so many people said it was common for him to hit 2, 3, 4 home runs foul, not hard line drives, like bombs.
And like, how cool was that hearing the story of like some Fairview field where everyone knew not to park down the left field line because that was you're in danger. Yeah, Corey was going to smash your car up, and like everyone knew it. Or if they did pull up, and then they realized that Derry Q was playing and Corey was playing, they go right back to their car and go park somewhere else. It was just known. That's fun. That's
okay.
Fun
so is it the same field that they talked about putting a high fence up, and then he blasts one through the fence and it hits the guy's house?
I believe so. Yeah.
Like, that's incredible.
Yeah. So if you guys haven't listened, Corey, there's this really funny story about them constructing this extra high kind of green monster type fence on a field at Fairview because the fence wasn't super long to obviously even it out, so you had to hit a legit home run. But Corey hit one so hard it went through some like soft spot in the fence, essentially hit some guy's house that had a burglar alarm, but the burglar, this guy was gone. He was out of town, so no one could turn it off. So a burglar alarm went off for the rest of the day. So imagine playing a baseball game and all you're hearing and for like hours and hours.
All right. Okay. Perfect. first of all, why is it so much more satisfying to hit a ball off of something as a home run? Like
it is.
Like blasting, like if you have a baseball field out in the middle of nowhere and you just tower one and there's nothing back there and it just rolls, I mean, that's fine. But why is it so fun to hit something, like whether it's a concession stand, whether
a shed,
it's
a light tower, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
it is. It's just, I don't know what is. There's something about like hitting something where you can be like, hey, I hit it off the shed,
right?
I hit it off of this versus I hit it really far, and there's no context to that.
So ours at Plains, the old field, it's not there anymore. But the old field at Plains, the school gym was in right field, but it was quite a ways behind the line. But then we had a bus barn in center, and our high school field was only 330 all the way around. So legit in the corners, but like center was short. And so there are some days that if you got a wind blowing straight out, that like if you lifted a ball, you could hit it off the bus barn. Yeah, you'd have thought that it was kids on Christmas morning. Anytime someone like Dusty could do it, I remember Murphy did it one time off pitching machine or whatever. Yeah. But what is it like a baseball hitting like a tin roof? Everyone loses their mind.
Yeah, or like everyone used to love like if you hit a car, a home run, hit a car or something like that, or like a train at Lanphier or something like. Yeah, there is something magical about that. I totally agree. Yeah. So it was only 330 to center at Plains.
I think so. Yeah, it was 330 all the way around.
Yeah, that's interesting. What a unique dimension, right? 330 all the way around.
Yeah, not anymore, but our old field used to be that way. Yeah. It made. It made. I used to play in center field on that field, and then we'd go to Lanphier where it was like 420. I was like, that was tough for me. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, interesting. Was there something? Did the bus barn prevent it from being deeper?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the reason for that was. I mean, there was probably another. It could have gone probably 30, 40 foot back. Like it could have been probably 375 in center. I don't know.
Okay.
If I had to guess, I'm sure Greer had something up his sleeve to do. I don't know. That may be false. He may have had nothing to do with it. It may have just been that was the room that was there, so they put it there. Yeah. But I do remember that there's. A lot of people would be surprised when they would hit pop flies to center and it would go out because it was short there.
For sure. What else we got Corey wise?
I was gonna say, hell, now that I'm looking back, like I think it was 330 in center, but maybe,
I think that sounds right. I think I've heard someone else say that.
Yeah, maybe somebody else could tell me differently, but yeah. Okay, so just on Corey being super strong at a young age. So I have an 8-year-old, and he's small anyway, but like to hear that the 8-year-old hit a line drive and ruptured the spleen. It was his dad, right?
Yeah, his dad.
That is hard to put into folks. Like even when I did coach pitch to them when they were 8, there were 2 kids that were really, really big.
Yeah.
And trust me, there were some times when I was throwing to them in a cage or throwing live to them. And if they hit a line drive back at me, like I was a little worried that I was going to get hit in the shin or the face or whatever. But at 8 years old, that's hard for me to even picture a kid that's strong enough to do that.
To generate that kind of velocity on a ball is very telling. Ruptured his dad's spleen, and then there was this whole funny story that his dad was dropped to his knees, and Roger's like, "You okay?" He's like, "He's 8 years old, Raj, fine." He's just 8. And then like he passes out later at home, and like he's pissing blood and shit. Had to go to the hospital, almost died, or like could have died, or could have bled out.
My gosh!
I mean that is big time bat speed for an 8-year-old to generate that kind of power. That's just that's what I'm talking about. These kind of like folklore stories like that, right?
Okay, so do you remember the name Jenny Grunwald?
Dang, why? It's hitting me like I should know it, but I can't put a face to it, or like, why should I know that name?
So my note in here was shout out Jenny Grunwald. He told some story that this girl was the best one in the league or the best one on a team or something.
That's right.
You remember what that was?
She was a shortstop. Or it was like some little league team he was on, like the first team. Yeah, I didn't get to play because this girl.
I thought that was awesome that he's like, oh yeah, I wasn't even the best player on the team. That was Jenny Grunwald, and I remember thinking, I'm like, oh, we got to get a comment from her.
Like as someone listened and been like, hey, Jenny, Corey's talking about you on this
Yeah, I hope somebody did.
Like someone would have no idea that their mom was like a shortstop in T-ball or something like that.
Yeah, imagine she has a kid that like is playing high school ball somewhere and he hears this and he's like, wait a minute, Mom. That would be such a cool story.
You played over Corey Erickson? Like, yeah. That was a cool name drop for him. I'm glad he did something like
that. Did he bring up the Walnut Room at the YMCA?
He did. Yeah.
So I never
Iconic.
I never played there when I was a kid, but when I was in high school, I worked there in the summer and I did some summer camps there or whatever. And I've got a lot of fond memories of absolutely thrashing some kids in dodgeball in the Walnut Room.
Can you explain to everyone what the Walnut Room is?
So it's just if you've been to the YMCA, obviously there's workout equipment, there's swimming pools, there's like a big regular gym that you would think of, but then the Walnut Room is kind of like this auxiliary room. Did it have walnut colored wood in it?
I don't know why why was it called the Walnut Room?
It was lower ceilings. It was like an auxiliary room. You could do Zumba in there. You could do probably like a not a town hall meeting, but like if someone wanted to call like a committee meeting, you could use it for that. Or for youth games, they would roll in these like
little baskets.
And like if you grew up in Springfield, you probably played in the YMCA league and played some games. There's legends of playing games in the Walnut Room. But when we used it in summer, it was like the transition room. If the kids were if they were done in the pool and we were going to eat, like that's where everyone would just come and just hang out. And so then it was just like a PE recess room. You could do dodgeball, you could do volleyball, you could do basketball, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know why, just maybe the name of it, like it was
special. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool like low ceiling type room, and I think it did maybe have walnut colored wood on the side. So
there's like an intimate feel to it. I remember playing little kid basketball games. There is like an intimate feel to it. It's a small space.
I remember I just remember that summer having so much fun. I don't know why the Walnut Room sticks out, but it's like,
it does. Everyone knows what it is if you're from here. Yeah, if you played some sports.
So Corey talked about, or you talked about, he's probably the only CS8 athlete to ever letter all three sports all 4 years, or if not letter, be a starter, right?
Yeah, right from the start.
All the way through. Mm-hmm. Which that's incredible. A starter all the way through. I'm like, I can only think of Dusty on my side of people that I know, but he only played baseball, basketball, but like he was a starter all the way through.
Sure.
And then I started thinking like there's I got to play like in basketball. I have all these great memories, but I really was only a starter my last year. Mm-hmm. And he talked about playing so many games because like he did freshman and he did JV and he did varsity.
Yeah,
and
Coach Nika, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, I was like that was my experience first year too. Except
really?
So I got to play freshman games on Saturdays. I got to play the JV games like during the week, and then I also sat varsity. And if we won, like I'd go in the last 2 or 3 minutes and I'd get as many shots up as I could.
Yeah.
So it's like I fondly remember those days where you could play on multiple teams. And I was like, I got a lot of reps as well. But that's to be a CS8 team and to be that ready to play in all sports that you're starting all 4 years is
in a premier position, no less. He wasn't playing left field. He was the shortstop. He was the quarterback. He was the point guard. Like these are very pivotal, to your success in a sport.
Yeah, and it was to the point. Help me on the story here. It was to the point that where there was a cap on number of games that he could play, and so and they screwed it up, and he had to sit out.
It was gonna be so. For how Bobby told it to me was that Corey was playing, freshman JV and varsity basketball.
Yeah.
Was it football? Shoot, now I'm getting them mixed up.
No, I think it was basketball.
Okay, but anyway, he was playing so many games. I guess Bobby had some intuition in him. Like maybe he knew some IHSA rules, and I guess he looked into it. Like how many games can you play? How many minutes? And I guess there was a cap, and he would have come up short by like at the end of the season. He would not have been able to play like the last 5 games or something like that. So eventually they chopped the freshmen and JV games, I believe.
Oh, got it. Okay, so I'm remembering that wrong because I thought he had to sit out like a city tournament or something. And
he would have if he had kept playing or something like that. I believe.
Got it.
That's what Bobby said. Yeah, but yeah, and he talked about how he was like, "This is great. I never have to go to practice. I just get to play games every day."
Yeah.
Which a lot of us would have loved. Probably yourself, right? You're a gamer like that.
Did you ever go to those city basketball tournaments in the mid-90s?
I did, man. Like it was kind of must see around here, Like we're of the same age essentially, and like you've told me via text that those guys were essentially like NBA players to you, and that's totally the same. Like I mean, the Walkers and Victor. I mean, like TJ and obviously Corey was kind of like the afterthought of that group basketball wise, but just they were incredible. Just I mean, it was like must see. You had to go see them, and being, how old would we have been? Like 94, 95? Like, so like, I would have been like 10-ish.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So 1 year older for me.
Just young enough for them to be like, yeah, like they're huge and you really think they're probably more than they really are. Like, go ahead, take it over. Like, how'd you see it?
So right about the time, so Pleasant Plains turned it around and I think won the seniors in 1995 won the Sangamon County tournament. And it was like the biggest thing for our town. Like it was the first time in like 70 years that Plains had won a Sangamon County title thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that to me, those guys were superheroes. And then I had a buddy that took me to the city games and I remember like, oh my gosh, like, first of all, I thought his name was pronounced Victor Chuck Woodaby at the time, as I'm sure some people also did.
People used to do that, and then he eventually started correcting people, and then it became commonplace.
So yeah. I'm telling you, I thought I didn't know, like around that time, like I knew Fighting Illini had a team, and I'd probably watch some games with my dad and all that, but I wasn't like super into it. You could not tell me that watching those guys dunk in warmups like wasn't the absolute epitome of my life at that moment. I was like, how, like in Springfield, this happened? Like these guys are right here. Like, this is it. Like, these are the best basketball players on the planet.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people have talked about, I don't remember which Walker it was. Maybe it was Jeff, but I think Jeff was supposed to be the better one.
Yeah.
And how everyone talks about him is that he was NBA tools, but just, I think he ran into some legal problems and did some things he probably shouldn't have, but that he was the real deal. This wasn't just, he was a good player in Springfield, Illinois. Like he was destined tool wise to go somewhere and it just didn't work out for him. So I think we probably were witnessing something pretty special.
Oh my God. Like I couldn't tell you, I mean, I'm assuming they won. I don't remember, but like just the impression that it made on me at that age, just to see like how, how big they were and how fast they were and all that type of stuff. I don't remember what year it was, but Jeff Walker used to make the rounds on the Gus Macker 3-on-3 as well.
Yeah,
and he would absolutely clean up in the dunk contest. Like he would throw the ball up over his head, do a backflip, go up, catch it, and do a reverse dunk. Like, I felt like I was in a movie.
Man, Gus Macker, what a cool memory.
It was unbelievable. Okay, so all that aside, too, it was really cool for me to hear about Corey absolutely locking people down on defense.
Oh yeah.
In that, just like I got so hyped for him when people kept talking about just like how much he would frustrate other people and get in them. Like that was fun to hear.
I mean, it must have been really special and unique defense for people to talk about it like that, right? Like people don't talk about, and people say like, oh yeah, he was a lockdown defender, but like people, I mean, like how many people said that they felt sorry for Corey's opponents, that he made such a mark on the game? Like, can you imagine being that frustrated? Like this little muscle ball is just all underneath you and you can do nothing. He's just like suffocating you and like elbowing you, but like kind of smiling, not really talking stuff to you. That's
yeah. Did you interview somebody that played against him and kept talking about the long arms and hands and being like, how did he get to that?
Yeah, that was Pat Trees, I believe, who played at Southeastern Coast. Sorry about that. I think I bumped it with my chin, but I think where we left off is you were asking about There was a Pat Tree story about Corey's arm's length, and like he was like, Corey was a sofa length away from me, and he reached out and just took the ball from me, and I still don't know. You could hear the bewilderment in his voice still, as like he's got to be in his 40s, he's like or a 50-year-old man, like it's hilarious to hear that. Just like, I mean, it was real, like people really thought about him as like a comic book character, superhero in some ways, just unique.
Yeah, no, I mean, as much as I love high school and college basketball, that was neat to hear from someone that I did, I like I said, I didn't know that he was that dude in everything.
Yeah. And I think there was another Pat Tree story, but he said Corey blocked him without jumping. Like he said, he went up for a layup and Corey just like put his arms up and was like, no. But yeah, that was special.
Okay. So I think I texted this to you, but it was Corey presents one of the coolest, like, what if scenarios. Like I think I said, there's not a lot of guys that were so accomplished or had so many different options that you can play the what if game and have it lead to any sort of other successful road. But I think when he talks about as much as he loved football and as much as he had an opportunity to play multiple sports, and not many people knew that he was seriously considering Kentucky and how different that would have gone for him.
Yeah, and it sounded like you could hear it in his voice that like I think there's a part of him that wishes he would have seen how that could have played out. Like,
agreed.
He really liked hitting people. That dude loved to get physical. That was just deeply within that guy. And that would have been interesting. Like Corey Erickson at UK, right? And they were never known for a good football team, so I imagine he probably could have at least been on the roster there. I don't know how that would have worked out, but obviously he could have played baseball there for sure.
Yeah,
and I didn't know that at all. I had never heard that until I can't remember who dropped that on me, but I think someone dropped. They said University of Tennessee, but that was wrong. But then Corey dropped it. It was
right.
UK. Yeah, so
right.
I bet not a lot of people knew that.
No, yeah, and that's just such a fun thing to think about that he, because I don't think it takes away from where his path ultimately led him. Like he seems to have still been good enough that, drafted so high.
Yeah.
Do you not think that 3 years later he couldn't have been looked at in the same light? I mean, probably.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like, it was funny that he, we've heard some interesting Itch Jones stuff on this podcast, haven't we?
Yep.
And like Dusty wasn't willing to say it, but I know Casey and Corey both had kind of interesting interactions with Itch once he told him that he wasn't coming. And I've never heard anyone say like Itch was a nice guy or like fun to play for, or it just sounds like he was very difficult to be around and kind of, I don't know. I don't want to be too negative here, but
with it's same. I'm in the same boat. I've only heard neutral or negative things about him, but I also haven't been around 30 guys that played for him. It may be a because of where we grew up and things like that. I think everyone kind of puts the University of Illinois on a pedestal that, like, when you when you grow up, that's like the spot that everyone wants to go to. And then when our guys don't end up going there or don't get a good have a good experience there, I think it all affects us because we're fans too.
Well, I couldn't agree more. That's perfectly said. Yeah.
Sometimes when I see people down here in Texas and I've got a Illini hat or shirt on or something, and they're like, "Oh, did you go there?" And I'm like, "No, I didn't go there." I'm like, "I'm just I grew up there. I'm a fan." I just like I think to myself, I'm like, is that that can't be unique to because I don't know if down here in Texas, a lot of people, whether it's Baylor or Texas or Tech or A&M or TCU or any of that, like, I think a lot of people around here are alumni of that school. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because there's so many options down here. But like Illinois is it, right? Like there's people aren't just well, I mean, if you live in the town maybe, but like people aren't split between ISU and Bradley and things like that. Like it's Illini or nothing.
Well said. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, and you're like you're pretty romantic about that. Like you've got some U of I jerseys and stuff, don't you? And like,
oh yeah.
That like that, but that what was like the D Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head era. That was pretty fun.
Well, and we were
right
we
around our
just
age. Yeah.
yeah, we got really lucky. I don't know how maybe because we won state in 2000, or I don't know if Coach Cameron had some sort of hookup or whatever. But like when I was still in high school, we got to go and watch some of their practices at their facility. And so
Oh,
2001, or yeah, I don't think it was two. I think it was 2001. That was like right before D and Darren came in, but like you still had. I think Brian Cook was there. I think
yeah.
Sergio
Sergio
McLean. I
McLean.
think
Yeah.
Griffin was there. Like it was still. I think they made an Elite Eight. So like that was really cool to go and get to go through their locker room and weight room and see their practice facility and all that. But I mean, it goes back even further for me because like my dad would always talk about the Flying Illini that made the Final Four.
Kendall Gill.
Yeah, and he had like this old pair of Illini sweatpants he always used to wear, and he had an old Coke bottle that had the Chief Illini wick on it. And so like for me, it was deep rooted that, that was kind of my introduction, was watching, a couple of those games on TV with him.
Well, I think I think some congratulations are in order. Did I see that a former Illini great followed you on a social media platform? Was it Kiwan Garris?
Yeah, listen to this story. So I've got a friend here that I coached her son, and our kids played together in a couple of different sports. And she and I have the same. We could not look any further apart. You would not think that she and I are friends or anything like that, but we have very similar social media humor, and so we routinely share things back and forth that we think are funny. So one thing popped up. And it was just one of those Instagram type things that it was like, hey, who's the player that made you fall in love with basketball? And she tagged me in it. And I responded and I said, oh, that's got to be, at Kiwan Garris, point guard for the Illini when I was young.
Yeah.
And then sure enough, like, I don't know, maybe 12, 16, 18 hours later, I get a Kiwan Garris was requested to follow you. I was like, oh boy,
that's awesome.
Here we go.
Yeah.
And then I think I made some sort of joke. I'm like, well, I'm not going to guarantee it, but am I going to be in a group chat with me and Kiwan Garris and D Brown by the end of the week? I don't know. It's too early to tell.
I wonder if guys like that, that have seen kind of their heyday come and go, would love getting stuff like that. Little mentions of like people remember them and what they went through and stuff like that. Like I imagine it'd be cool to be tagged and stuff like that still, right?
Well, I mean, yeah. It still feels good to be recognized, I think. Yeah. Right. And appreciated for that stuff for sure.
Yep. And that's cool. You said the name Sergio McLean in there, and there's a funny, it sounded like Corey frustrated Sergio McLean. It was, chest to chest with him. And like, he just had a way of irritating really good players and was locking them down. There's the Jerry Hester story and the Sergio. Yeah. I mean, Sergio McLean was a stout boy. It's funny that Corey was guarding him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like kind of, pumps me up for like the short guys playing basketball. Like, made me want to get out and do some defensive slides in my driveway.
Right. Like he almost made it's like defense isn't like a sexy thing, right? But it's almost like Corey Erickson made defense like kind of sexy in a way, right? Like stifling, physical, infuriating defense.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Is anybody lined up next or no?
I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I gave it like everything I possibly had with Corey. Like it was so
it showed too.
I can't tell you how much time I put into that, man. And I even went even further. Like I digitized so much Erickson home video.
Yeah. I loved watching that stuff.
And I put a lot of that out there. Like Sherry Erickson gave me video, Bobby gave me video, Corey gave me video, and I digitized all of it. And I put them on flash drives, and Bobby got a flash drive, Sherry got a flash drive, Corey got a flash drive, and Casey got a flash drive. So
yeah,
it's on YouTube as well. I put a lot of that on YouTube. I don't know. I just felt like how all out can I go for Corey Erickson here? Can I get, and
yeah.
So I feel like I need a little bit of break and stepping back a little bit. And I've talked about, doing some of the shorter, baseball dude episodes and whatnot. So I don't really have anyone. I know I've made commitments to do people's stories eventually down the line, but I haven't started. Usually I start like as soon as I don't give myself a lot of time. Like usually once Justin's done, like the next day I'm interviewing other people and for the next story, but I haven't done that yet. And it's also kind of coinciding with, there might be a career change here for me. And there's been some interviews and stuff like that. So I don't know how it's going to play out. But that's it's kind of when I got there, going there.
Yeah.
You got anything more on Corey you want to talk about?
I mean, he had he covered the ending of his career really well.
Yeah.
I think he's at peace with how it ended, but I think, like you said, the what if, I think, revolves more around like if he would have started different or done different things. I don't think he regrets how it ended at all.
Right. Yeah. You know what? I don't know if this is worth anything, but when I loved getting some video of Corey and seeing him play pro ball and getting a feel for what his swing looked like, what his bat speed looked like. And a part of me feels like Corey was a lot closer than AA, like in terms of his tools.
Sure.
Like, you can't tell me that is not big league level bat speed. And like, it's a beautiful bat path. And there's also some video of him fielding and just how he moves and how, man, like I messaged you the other day about your son, a video about him, about how he moves.
Yeah.
Like, I'm big into movement and like movement patterns, and there are clues to good athletes. Like they have a lot of the same movement patterns. And what I see in Corey Erickson is the absolute super high level mover, from how his feet interact with the ground, where his knees are at, when his feet interact, powerful positions, powerful hands, powerful core, huge legs. I mean, explosive. It makes me feel sad a little bit, because I think he had it. I think some of these guys didn't. Like O'Malley was always going to be a mid to upper 80s velo guy and probably never had it. He wasn't going to stay in the big leagues. But I think Corey had the it in terms of physicality to be a professional. Like, he looked like he was ready to play for dough, and it seems like that outside pitch just was never his thing, and he never quite figured out how to like do that, how to take your home runs when you're supposed to, but also don't be vulnerable and hit it the opposite way. So that was, a part of me feels sad for him, because I think he was a lot closer than AA. Like, he was close.
Yeah. Well, and the game has changed since then. Like, he might have been a part of ushering in a new era.
Yeah.
Of getting, looking for guys that can hit that 3-run homer instead of just put it in play all the time.
Yeah, I really hammered that home too, that Corey would be, valued so different today, because the game has changed to a point where home runs are celebrated, low batting averages are acceptable if you're getting on base and playing high defense. And that was Corey. That was exactly who he was. He was versatile. He could have played any infield position. So I wonder if that's infuriating to him on some level. And I know it got you and me when he said he had a line of like, I really wanted to make that call.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to call my dad. I wanted to call my friends and do all this stuff. And there was some sadness in that voice, but.
Yep. And it doesn't like, if you're hearing that for the first time now from us, it's not going to hit the same as if you invested 6 hours in hearing how important everyone was to him. Yeah. And it totally was not like, he didn't say anything about wanting the glory and wanting his name in lights. Like, his biggest regret was not being able to make that call to say, I made it, like, for you guys. Like, I wanted to, like, I kind of in his mind, like, hey, I finally feel like I made you proud. Like, I made it.
Yep. And I guess on the funnier side, his other dream was to do a backflip at Busch Stadium and hit a home run. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah. That was one of his regrets. Because I wanted to do a backflip at Busch Stadium. I was like, can you do a backflip? He was like, no, I've never done one, but I would have figured it out.
And I don't doubt for a second that he could have practiced it for like 3 hours and gotten it down.
100% with the type of athleticism people talk about him having. Absolutely. So that was, I mean, that was the longest episode. I believe it's 12 or 13 hours total, which I'm sure would astound people that thought Corey was not capable of holding his own. But I think, I don't know if I'm just rambling here, but I really wanted to set up the first half of it with heavy clips, so he could play off it, so he didn't have to feel like he was on the spot providing all the information. He could chime in when he felt like it. And then I think you'll hear a totally different Corey Erickson in episodes 4, 5, and 6 when we come back, because he had gotten comfortable with me, gotten comfortable with the environment, what was going on, and he really opens up in the back half. So I thought that was really special. I could not be more thrilled with how it came out. I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah. Have you watched his Pan Am footage all the way through?
I've skimmed through it. I've skimmed through parts where I just wanted to see him, essentially.
there's a really cool scene that feels like it's part of an old movie where they're on the bus and it's some guy filming and he's just asking everybody their name and where they're from and what they play and all that. But it's just like, it feels like a bus from the 50s or something.
Really?
And you look at all these, super young guys, we have the context now of knowing that, like, man, I didn't recognize any names right away, but I do sort of wonder, like, hey, how many kids on that bus, panned out to have, big careers or whatever. But it's just it's a cool glimpse back in time, of what like travel ball is now, and like the amenities that people have now, and like to go back then, and like just the old satin type jackets that they have on that say USA. It's a cool little like old nugget.
Yeah. Can you imagine how cool would you have felt as a 14, 15-year-old getting selected for the USA team? I mean, that's crazy. That is such a nod to him, such an accomplishment. I would have lost my mind if I would have got, an opportunity like that. That is so special.
Yeah, for sure. And it just it's patched together footage and things like that. But I definitely remember that just the quick little interviews on that bus ride was it's almost like lost footage that you didn't know existed, and you rediscover it. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, for sure. That was just Corey was very special, very special. So if you haven't listened to it, go invest 13 hours in the Corey Erickson story. I know it's so I sometimes I wonder if I should put them out slower, like one at a time, like one every couple weeks. But I just once it's edited and I have it done, it's like I have to get it out. So I put 3 episodes out at once, and people sometimes don't even know which. They'll listen to it out of order. Listen to like one. Like I'm looking at the views of them, and sometimes they don't make sense. Like episode 1 will have like 300 views, and episode 2 will have 200, and episode 3 will have like 400. It's like, how is this happening? So I don't know. I'm sure people will figure it out as they go.
No, I think that's the great thing. Someone could discover it now for the first time, and everything all still holds. Like there's no, other than, yes, you should listen to them in order from the stories being told chronologically. But they're like, I could go back and listen to Aper's story right now, and it's still as fresh today as it was a year ago.
Yep. And that's cool, because Corey was saying that, people were contacting him and, saying how much they liked it. And then they were realizing that, like, oh, there's other people. He's done other guys. It's like, oh yeah, but there's like about 40 other episodes that you could go through. So you've said it too, that these are going to be timeless. And I love that you said that to me, because it's true. Like 20 years from now, it's not like these aren't going to be out of context. These were these people's stories. We told them, they're forever going to be there. So I feel good about that. It's not going to be dated in 20, 30 years. They're going to always have this. And you've said too that I should feel proud. We should feel proud about what we've done in this in 1 year. And like, I put out a lot of stuff, and there's, it's grown quite a bit. And I guess I never knew what it was going to be, but I look back on it on this year, and I'm very proud of what we've done.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of these types of things that don't, I'll say explode. There's a lot of these things that don't explode until several years into it. And then to everyone else, they feel like it happened in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the creator has to be like, no, this has been like a, 4, 5, 6 year grind. Yeah. I think it's very unique and very impressive that this took off so quickly. But I think it's a testament to how much effort you put into it, because you could have, you could have just picked up the phone with these guys and just let them talk, and it wouldn't have molded into the content that it did. Like, I think it's a really good reflection of, how much effort you put into it.
There's a lot of effort into it, man. That's for sure. Yeah.
And it's interesting. You said at the beginning of this that you could tell the difference in how people like interviewed with you. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they knew they were part of the show and part of the content, and they wanted to deliver for you. You know what I mean? So that's a neat thing too.
Yeah. It was like the first go around, they didn't know like what I was going to put in there or what I would use and whatnot. It was, they definitely cleaned it up a little bit the second time, or were more enthusiastic about it. And you could just tell that they were like, oh, maybe if I say it a little more with a little more inflection here, like maybe I'll get a little clip in there or something like that. I don't know. I'm just guessing where.
I think you're exactly right. I think everyone enjoys being, there's it's one thing to be talked about, like if you're a teammate, if you're a coach, if you're a sibling or a parent or whatever. I think it's a whole nother thing to be. I think it's a special thing to get included in it too, right? Like if you're of a level that you're involved with them enough, I think it's an honor might not be the right word, but like I think it's definitely of interest that you want to be, especially if the person, if the interviewer or if the interviewee, the guest is important to you. I think everyone feels a responsibility to provide something of content.
I love that. Aper said something to me one time about, and it made me feel really good. He said, you know how many like people from the baseball community are like hoping that your name pops up on their caller ID, or they get a text from you like, hey, I need you for this or something like that. And I like that. I don't know why I think that's so cool, but I think we definitely have connected the baseball community in different ways here. And I've got posters out now. I've got big time posters out at the office, home plate, bar and grill. We're putting one out at 226 Sports, which is one of our sponsors. We're putting one out at the clubhouse, which is Jason and Justin's place. Their hitting facility, and then Casey's also opening up a hitting facility this summer, and we've got a poster going up there. And also my mom and dad wanted one, so there's one in their basement as well.
That's awesome.
Yep, and I made stickers too, and I sent those out. You got one of those, or a couple of those. I sent those your way, so those went pretty fast. I've got a couple bumper stickers made, and those went real fast. So I mean, maybe we've talked about making some shirts at some point. Maybe a little post game spread run of some shirts. That'd be cool. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah. So,
should we mention what was texted the other day or no? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but let's just go ahead and do it. And say it. Well, I don't remember what you're talking about.
So Coach Tor reached out to a bunch of guys that play for Lincoln Land, that they're doing something for Bull.
Please.
I'm looking at my schedule. I don't think I'm going to be able to make it back there. I wish I could, but there's just too much family stuff going on. But it is on a Friday at like 2:45 in the afternoon. So like, I hope guys are able to make that. But I feel pretty close to this being in Bull's first recruiting class. I would love to be there because it's hard to believe it's now 21 seasons later, 22 seasons later, whatever. I remember his kids are adults now. Like I remember how young they were when
little kids
came in there. Yeah.
This little Ron. For you guys that don't know, this is Ron Big Bull, or not Big Bull, regular Bull, or Bull. Right? Yeah. Little Bull, what I don't know. Ron Bull Riggle, the head coach at Lincoln Land, and AD is hanging him up after this is his final year coaching. So Coach Tor, who I believe is going to be taking it over, sent out a text to some of the baseball guys who knew Lincoln Land guys and asked them to kind of spread it for us to congregate for a game. What do you have that date?
I could probably find it. So it's a Friday before a Danville doubleheader. So Coach Tor sent out a group message, and there was like 15 guys on it or something. And when I saw it, here I got it. It's May 3rd, Friday, May 3rd.
Okay. Yep. So if you are a Lincoln Land player, come.
Yeah. So he sends that out. They want to do something for Bull. And I shot back and I said, if by special event you mean he's going to send us to run 3 tree lines while he waters the infield, then I'm interested in coming in. Tor goes, you are correct. We bought a new hose.
I mean, those tree lines.
Yeah. And I always thought it was like, sometimes he would just send us off running, and I thought it was like for conditioning or whatever, and I would watch him. It legitimately was just until he finished preparing the infield.
Really? That was it?
Yeah, that was it. Like I was like, are we running for punishment, or like is this for conditioning or whatever? And then I'd watch, and it was like as soon as he was done doing the watering the infield or cleaning up, he would call us back in. And I was like, why couldn't we? Like, why do we have to run? Like, couldn't you send us into the outfield to take fly balls or something? Like, why do we have to run?
That was fun. And I remember my first year there, it would have been your second. We ran a lot. Man, we ran a lot. I felt like we were like a track team. It got progressively less. Every year after that was a little less. But man, we ran a lot of long distance running, which you don't typically do anymore with baseball. It's kind of like outdated thinking. But it sounds like he just wanted us out of his hair for a little bit.
Yeah. Oh my! like as part of the conditioning, the worst was running to the Shell station and back.
Yep.
Second worst was running to Henson Robinson Zoo and back.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little better than that was running the giant tree lines, because once you got down past the backfield, you could cut your corners a little short. Man, and cut a few 100 yards off of it.
I tell you what, the people that like flat out cheated used to drive me crazy. But like I was always on the fence of like, is this worth, kicking up dust over and being upset about this, or just let them be? But like some guys would legit, run the whole thing. And some guys, once you're out of sight, you could absolutely make a big cut and like, really change your position in it. And
yeah, for sure.
I don't know what the right answer was, but whatever.
I think everyone got what they deserved.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I got a question for you. What were some of your, since we're here, like, I guess we'll wrap it up here soon, but like, what did you really enjoy about Bull as a coach, as a leader of men?
So he absolutely, put a lot of routines. I don't want to say respect in place, but kind of like respectful things in place that you might think were silly at the time, but now it's like things that I hold near and dear to. Just little things like wearing your hat forward all the time. Like Greer was like, Greer let facial hair. You could wear your hat backwards. You could chirp. You could this and that. He encouraged you to, if you wanted to get fired up and let your anger out, like it was a lot of those types of things. So it was very different when I got to Lincoln Land with Bull. Like, and there was, and I think it were things carried over from Krasik. It was a little bit more old school way of going, but just, respectful things of like how you wear your uniform, how you show up on time, how you prepare yourself, the way that you speak. He didn't put up. He was very, very approachable, almost like he was your friend, but never to the line that you didn't also know that he was still the coach.
Oh, that's perfectly put. And like one of my favorite things about Bull too is that he was the ultimate player's coach. He was that you could go sit in his office and tell him if you were having a problem with something, or there was something going on in your life and you needed to talk to someone that, had some advice for you, some sage adult advice. But you're totally right. You knew that he was still your coach and that there was a line, but it felt like he cared about you in a way that some coaches don't. Like he didn't keep you at arm's length,
Yeah. And I could, I think you have this with everybody. I think at the time we all sort of felt like he may have had some favorites, which now that I'm older in life, makes sense. Like there's just certain people you gravitate to, but there's also certain people that require more of a relationship than others. Like some people can come in and they don't need a close relationship. There's others that come in and whether they had a different upbringing or whatever, like there's different guys that need different level of coaching. I think maybe I was very friendly with him. Like we got along very well. We had similar interests. Like he would also enjoy WWE
wrestling. I knew you guys were big wrestling guys.
But I think I probably could, if I was more focused, I probably could have had more of his time. Meaning if I came to him from day one and laid out what my goals were and said, hey, my goal is to start in the outfield and I want to bat leadoff and I want to improve this and this. And after my 2 years here, I'd like, if there's a way that I could work my way into Illinois State, that's the goal. Like, I think if I would have sat down with him and communicated that to him, he probably would have done everything in his power to get there. Because like at the time he was, without me knowing it, like he did put me into some positions to do that. Like he, if not for a couple of guys turned down the rifles the first year, I got an opportunity to be on the rifles after my freshman year. So like that's an exposure thing that at the time it wasn't communicated to me as in like, hey, I see something in you, this is a great opportunity for you to take it to the next level. Like I sort of just felt like, oh, I was the next best person that it fell to, you know what I mean? And I think I could have, asked more of him.
Well said. Yeah.
And I get the feeling 100% that he would have done absolutely anything he could at the time.
I love how you said that, man.
Because he was commissioner of CICL at the time.
Right.
So like it's very realistic to think that he, with one or two phone calls, could have gotten to a coach on like any kid that played for any CICL team at that time, he could have made one call to the coach of that CICL team and asked, hey, do you know someone at Arkansas Pine Bluff? I have no idea how that came to my mind. But like if they had a kid from there, like literally in 2 calls, I think he could have gotten to anyone at the time.
Well said.
And I just didn't ask him.
I got an interesting line there. A couple things that you said. I made a couple notes there. Hope I'm not taking too much of your time here. What you just said about that is I had an experience where O'Malley told me kind of after my redshirt freshman year at Lincoln, he was like, hey man, Bull's a busy guy. There's a whole big team. If you want to get your name out there, like you got to start getting your name out there yourself. I was like, don't worry about what Bull's doing. He goes, start sending letters, start, sending emails. So me being kind of the habitual line stepper that I am, the extreme guy that I am, I sent out letters to like everywhere. I mean, and schools that I probably had no business sending them to, and I remember all of a sudden Bull calls me in his office and he's like, well, the University of South Carolina called today, Blake, and they're saying that you sent them this lengthy email and all this stuff about your game and all this stuff. And he was like, hey, I understand what you're trying to do, but would you please keep me in the loop? I'd be happy to help you. And like within like a week or so, I think the Murray State head coach was at Lincoln Land watching me play. And then another week after that, I was signed and sealed and delivered. So I totally agree. I think you do have to kind of come to him with what you want to do and your vision. And it may not align with how he sees you, but at least he can give you some honest feedback and kind of, all right, he knows at least, all right, this is what I want to do. Like you wanted to walk on at Illinois State. Like he probably, would have at least tried to help you there, So totally. And then furthermore, he talked about getting some of his time and whatnot. And you made some comments about, people coming from different backgrounds. And I do know, I think I know what you're talking about a certain player. I'm not going to say his name, that needed a lot of guidance and kind of like a father figure. And I always thought Bull was good at being a little bit different for each player. Like, like some coaches are just like, this is how I coach. This is how I deal with players. But everyone's different. Everyone comes from different backgrounds. Some people come from fatherless backgrounds. Some people come from, hectic backgrounds. Some people come from very stable backgrounds and don't need the same sort of structure. So I always thought that Bull was great in that. And Bull stepped up for me multiple times when things had nothing to do with baseball and were just about life. And he was there for me. So I love that guy. Always appreciative of him. And just know that if Bull's not keeping in touch with you, it's not because he doesn't love you or have respect for you. It's because he's been coaching for 20 something years. And there's like literally 1,000 guys that have been through that program. He'd be on the phone all day if he kept in touch with everyone every day,
Yeah. And like, what's interesting too, though, is that like my experience also included a little bit of Krasik because he still taught at the school.
Yeah.
Big Bull was there every single day, still in the swing of it. And Bruce was kind of on his way out there. And then I got Weave the second year. So it's like the experience that I got, obviously is not the same, one that someone got, 3 years ago or 4 years ago.
100%.
And I want to say that so much of, I know we've kind of joked about this before, but like, I do think Big Bull had a thumbprint on a lot of stuff still then. Cause like he did a lot of fundraising for us I didn't know about. Like once I got to Weber and we had like what we had to do for fundraising there versus what we got, I was like, I immediately was like, oh man, I miss Big Bull. like at Lincoln Land, I think we had to fundraise like maybe $300 or $500 or something like that. And it was like, you had opportunities to do like, programs in or ads in the program. You could work volleyball games. You could work concessions. You could, any number of things. They provided opportunities for you to hit that. And then in response, we took charter buses everywhere. We had buffet dinners. We got, we got sweatsuits and helmets and shoes and shorts and bags and
first class.
You name it, we had it.
Really well.
And then I get to Weber, and it was just like, hey, you guys need to fundraise $1,000 each. Good luck, because we just put these lights in last year.
that blew me away as well, dude. Yeah. I had that I went to, everyone thinks that you go to a D1 school and it's going to be sunshine and rainbows and endless gear. And we were treated so much worse than we were at Lincoln Land in terms of gear, in terms of facilities. Our field was better at Lincoln Land. We had much better gear. yeah, we really were treated first class. I remember Big Bull telling me my freshman year at Lincoln Land, you guys are going to go on somewhere else eventually, and you're not going to realize it until you leave, that how well you are treated here. This is first class all the way. And I remember thinking, look, this old man, whatever, like, okay, Big Bull, I'm going to go play D1 and pro ball and like whatever, Lincoln Land. And it was totally accurate. Like we got a shirt and a t-shirt at Murray State and had to pay for everything else, had to pay for our sweatsuits, had to pay for our jackets, all this stuff. And yeah, Big Bull was right. I don't know why. I'm glad you brought up Big Bull. There's one thing he said, or has said multiple times when I've called him, when he talks about a player, and now it's become part of my vernacular. And it's the phrase, he's like, he's a killer. I don't know why that just stood out to me. Sometimes I find myself walking around muttering that, like, he's a killer. I don't know, Big Bull.
I mean, there's a reason why we all have stories about him. Like every time I see my dad, and anytime something comes up, my dad has stories about him. Like either from him coming into my dad's like auto shop to get his truck worked on, or just every time my parents came to a game, like Big Bull would hustle them to buy another sweatshirt or another jacket or whatever. Like and he would always like guilt trip them too, like what you don't support your son? You don't love your son enough to get another jacket? So of course they would came and buy. So we've got piles and piles of Lincoln Land stuff.
I know you send me a picture every once in a while of like some more. You still got some Lincoln Land gear down there. You throw on every once in a while, don't you?
My I think he's 94 now. My 94-year-old grandpa sits in his rocking chair with the old gray Lincoln Land sweatshirt with the Krasik logo on it, and he wears a black cowboy hat sometimes just to watch TV. And I'll he's older, so like they have like watch cams in the house, like in case he falls or needs something or whatever. Sure. And sometimes my mom will send me screenshots of just him sitting there with his Lincoln Land baseball sweatshirt and a cowboy hat on. It's awesome.
That's so perfect. Well, buddy, you got anything else? You ready to get out of here? What you got?
No, I'm ready. I mean, this is since I'm going to kick in some money, obviously, for this, do you let us know kind of where you're at support wise, and if there's anything you want to do or whatever? You brought that up to me.
Let's have this conversation now. I had some ideas. I haven't kicked out money in a while, and I'm ready to kick some money out. So I don't know. I reached out to Corey and asked him if he had any favorite charity. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. So I don't know. I feel like we've kind of gone the rounds of like what makes sense giving out money wise, all the baseball programs in the area, Boys and Girls Club. I thought about giving some more money to Boys and Girls Club just because they're near and dear to my heart. And there was a story of Corey going there, and I don't know. What do you think? Where do you want to kick some money to?
Oh man, I'm not close to anything there. I mean, obviously I always want to do, the most special thing possible, but I know that takes a lot of effort and things like that. So, I mean, if there's, I don't know what's, like you said this before, like, does it really help to kick a few $100 to some place that's already very well funded,
Right.
Like, it does feel a little bit better to actually find an opportunity that needs it.
Right. That being said, I did give money to SHG, but like that's what I'm talking about. Like, SHG's got a ton of money, so it's like, okay, I'm throwing a raindrop at the ocean right now. So, but I did it because it was fair in terms of I gave it to all the other schools and whatnot. But yeah, I would like to give it to the underprivileged that need the money, that need some help. And I had a great experience at Boys and Girls Club too coming up, so it's near and dear to my heart. So I think I'd like to kick some more money there. And I don't know. So
let's get, can we get somebody from the YMCA to give us a download on why it's called the Walnut Room? I feel like somebody's got to have that history.
Well, I hate to give you bad news. Did you know that they tore that one down?
What?
Oh, it's gone, buddy.
Oh, no.
It's gone.
I did not know that.
Did I just ruin your day? It's gone.
Oh, my gosh. I feel like I just made a mistake, and I was talking about somebody who's dead, but I was talking about them like they're alive and they're dead. No, R.I.P. Walnut Room.
R.I.P. Walnut Room. They tore it down within the last couple of years, and they built another one a little further downtown. It's really nice and whatnot. But I mean, the old stinky YMCA that we all know downtown is gone. It's not there.
Oh man, yeah, she had some age on her.
She did, and yeah, it's funny now when I drive past it. the lot looks a lot smaller than I would have imagined.
Yeah.
I pictured it being the YMCA just being humongous, but I'm also, my last memories, they're probably 10, 11 years old, maybe. And that haven't probably been back since. So it's gone, buddy. I'm sorry to tell you that.
Gee, Manetley. Well, if not, let's get some paperwork filled out to name one of the new rooms the Walnut Room.
The Walnut Room.
There's got to Knoedler's got to be on that board or something.
He seems like he's on the board of all these things. So, yep.
No, I'm a sucker for kids. Like I said, I had amazing experiences as kids and lots of opportunities. So yeah, it does pull at my heart a little bit to know that there's other kids out there that don't get all those same opportunities.
Yeah, well, we might just go ahead and do that. So that works. Well, if you got anything else, I've got one question I want to ask you on the way out. You good or?
Yeah, no, I had fun. I love it.
I keep asking people this now, and it's comical. I don't know why it's so funny to me, but is it true if you don't use it, you lose it?
Dang it! I should have had some sort of witty response prepared for this. Listen, I'm into my 40s now, and I am of the perspective that you should absolutely use it so you don't lose it. Always.
Last thing then, for so many years you used to post it. I don't know if you do it anymore, but you used to have this race with some like female relative of yours or something every year.
Oh yeah, my niece.
It was hysterical. He would post this video of like, can I still beat a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old? I mean, every year you would visit her. I don't know how it played out, but there would be this race of like, I don't know, 50-yard race you guys would have.
Yeah, there was. So she ended up playing college softball at the what's the one in Bloomington, the JUCO in Bloomington.
Heartland.
Heartland, yeah. So she ended up playing softball at Heartland, and she's done there now. I don't think she's playing anymore. But yeah, there was a time when I was obviously just a rackety old man, and she was an up and coming high school athlete. And we always just, I would see her once a year, sometimes summer vacation, sometimes around Christmas or whatever. And we would always do this race to see if I could beat her. It's been a few years. But
she never got you though, all right?
No, not quite. I mean, there were, I mean, she was literally only 2 steps behind me though. I think that, but it did always make me feel good that I could, still
got a little something in there.
Yes, but it's not, Blake, let me tell you. My workout regimen now consists of me walking 2 miles with a weighted vest and doing some push-ups. If anything more than that, the injuries are way too easy to come along, and they take so long for me to feel normal again. I'm like, it's not worth. And it's like, I'm still of the type that like, if I start working out hard, I see results really quick, so I get really excited about it. But then, sure enough, an elbow stinger, a neck stinger, a knee, an ankle, a lower back. And then I'm like, now I got to do 6 weeks of chiro, and I can't even get out of bed right. So it's like, you know what? I'm on a very, very low impact, low and slow. Just make sure that my kids don't think that they can try me.
That day's coming, Joey. That day is coming.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny to think that our athletic primes were like half of our lives ago, 20 years ago? It's just, and we're like 40-year-old guys now, essentially. And it's just, man, 20 years ago, we were at our best, essentially. Right? I don't know.
Yeah. What we used to do for warm-ups, I would not even do that for a workout now.
Right? I think back to like the amount of up-downs we used to do at Lincoln Land for like warm-ups. We do like 20 or 30 up-down burpees or whatever for warm-ups. And like, that's not even an easy thing at all. And that was a warm-up for us. That's just, man. Time is a crazy thing, Joey.
I know. But the memories remain.
The memories remain.
Yeah. Yep. Even though my body doesn't move as fast anymore, it means more to me now, obviously. Like, like you said earlier, I wish you knew you were in the good old days, when you were in them. Yeah. Like, that is the one thing about now, is that it means more to me to think about it and remember it now than it ever did in the moment.
Oh,
which I think, not to make every episode about WWE, but I think that's a huge reason of why I love that stuff, is that's all, you know what I mean? That's all about like creating these hyped up moments, you know what I mean? And it's like, those types of things mean more to me now than when I was younger and I was, in like doing things and in them. So I love that stuff. Same reason like Marvel movies. I love the superhero movies because they fabricate those moments.
That's perfectly put. All right, I'm going to leave us with I'm glad you brought up wrestling again. We're going to leave you with a Eric Gum quote. We're going to get out of here. No one has done more for professional wrestling awareness than Joey Albysmeyer in the history of the world. We appreciate you guys. This has been another Out of Left Field. We love doing this. This is fun for us. It's better to cut me off.
Right after Eric Gum's quote of nobody's done more for professional wrestling awareness than me.
Okay, we pretty much got the gist of it. I think I just touched it with my chin again. You got anything else for me, buddy?
No, I was just gonna say that's funny because obviously WrestleMania was last weekend, and I just told you when we were trying to schedule this call, I was like, that's okay. I just watched the Bray Wyatt documentary, and I need a moment to compose myself. Yeah, I don't know. It's I don't know. I like it.
I love it.
And I'm not going to apologize for it. I know it's. I understand why some people think that it's silly, but it's all those same reasons and why I love it. I can suspend reality for a while.
It's perfect. It's yeah. I love that you're into it, and it's always been your thing. And if you don't follow, I don't know, do yourself a favor. If you're friends with Joey, if you don't already, follow him on social media. He gives all kinds of interesting. He finds a way to bring WWE into his life in ways, many ways, and Katie tolerates it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, she has no choice. So I am. My company is doing a all company retreat or program at a Savannah Bananas game on August 1st. So I will, if nothing else, I can give my full review of Savannah Bananas game after that.
This is your moment, man. You're not too old. Show them what you can do.
Trust me, everyone in my company knows that, like, my kids and like that I like WWE and all that. So I'm certain during that game, everyone's like anything that happens remotely wrestling related, entrance music, any of that stuff. I'm sure they're all going to turn to me to get my reaction.
I will go to my grave thinking that if you had been born 20 years later, you would be a banana right now, or that would have been in your wheelhouse. I think you would have been good at it.
It does. I do feel like I could come up with some good entertaining stuff from it. I'm not sure that I don't know that those guys, if they travel around and all that type of stuff, but yeah, it does. I'm coming around on it. Like, cause I see some people commenting about how, like, I don't like how they're making a mockery of the game that I love and all that, but I don't see it like nobody should show up thinking that if you want to go to a baseball game, go to a baseball game.
Yeah. You have a bananas game. You're going to see banana stuff.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope it's good.
Okay. All right, buddy. Well, you good now?
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know why I needed to put that in, but anyway. Yeah.
All right, guys. We're out of here.
All right. See ya.
Right?
Yeah.
All right, buddy. I appreciate you, man. We're out of here.
Later.
See you, buddy.